indigenous peoples. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mr. Alberts?
Here.
Mr. Bagneski? Ms. Fuchs? Dr. Garcia? Mr. Jackson? Mr. Manka? Mr. Newmeister? Dr. Sprague? Ms. Sukla?
Of course, below the national average, but we've seen a rise in this community. We've seen some armed juveniles in the community that have fired at each other in public spaces, one being wounded on Logan Street. The other shooting, I think, occurred with another student that went through our school system as well. And we also had a loaded weapon brought into Central, of course. And then we have our shootings around the country, Minneapolis, Madison, nearby. So I've been involved with school shooting, legislation and work for many years. And I lived in DC. Some of the legislation that I worked on for years was repealed in like 5 minutes. So I have switched gears a couple years ago in understanding that the way to end school shootings is simply with weapons detection systems. This is how we stop it. It's not what I want. It's not what a lot of people want. But when we see a rise of violence in a community, so I reached out to this guy, and he talked to me for like 2 hours, just totally brilliant. And it's been a huge success. They had very little pushback. They are also below the national average on violent crime. But they saw similar things in their community as to what we're seeing in La Crosse. Armed juveniles. They had a shooting in a park across the street from one of the high schools. Unfortunately, that child was killed, not like the boy on Logan Street who survived. So they decided to act. They said the alarm bells are there. Of course, it's a different city, different demographics, but it's not like terribly different. But they did such a good job in pushing this through. But really what it came down to was like, who was in charge? The superintendent had come from a district where there was more violent crime and armed juveniles and some gang activity. She was receptive. The chief of police had come from Stockton, California, dealt with lots of criminal gang activity, armed juveniles, etc. He was receptive. And then their safety director, Chris Baldridge, that I mentioned, had a law enforcement background. So all three just decided, they said, why wait? Why are we waiting? School shootings aren't going away. We are not getting the legislation that is going to stop them or slow them down anytime soon. It will be 50 to 100 years in reality before that happens. So the way we make them stop is with weapons detection systems, just like we did at our courthouses. We don't have courthouse shootings anymore because we've had the systems in there for 30 years, right? It's like an obsolete term. So why wait? And the thing that impressed me about this district, I would ask you to reach out to them. He is waiting for your phone calls. I don't know if that's appropriate, but I said they might want to reach out. Because he talks about how it enhanced the student experience. It was not a negative experience. It enhanced the student experience. They get 2,300 kids into a giant high school there. That was their pilot program. They started with a pilot program. They did some studies. They eased into it. They slow walked. They had an open house, almost like a trade show. And they invited these vendors to come in. They opened it up to the community and said, come in, so parents and kids can like walk through these systems and try it out. And okay, this is the best one. This is what we want to go with. So it was kind of, we'll be receptive and grateful for it. I think it came in at a cost of about $90,000 per school. They did the pilot program with one large school, but they could have selected 2 medium schools, but they went with the one large. All right, that's it. And if you need information on those links, I'm happy to resend it.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Our next speaker is Mr. Adamenka. You get to time your own school board member.
Oh, it feels nice being this side again. Feels like forever since I was a sophomore over here. But I just wanted to bring an opportunity up for you all here. I didn't even bring up my name on this. Originally, I had something planned up or I wanted to speak about, but this is something that's personal to me. I kind of wanted to go through by myself. I wanted to start the initiative here to start a scholarship from our own board, because the best way, we govern through the board table here, but some of the best ways we can actually impact students themselves is when we actually do something directly for them. It's not just, you don't just lead from the top, you lead from everywhere, and I want to kind of bring this to your awareness here is that I want to try bring a scholarship up for our homeless students or students who have housing instability. And a big reason why I wanted to start this off with is because I used to be one of those students. When I was a senior in high school, actually when I was running for the board, due to kind of my own family situation here, I lost my home due to domestic violence. And when we talk a lot about what are the best policies bring us up for our own students, or more or so, like we only can control exactly the students that come inside the schools. We can only do the best policy inside. But outside, one of the biggest challenges for a lot of students is how exactly they can do over at home and really finishing up their education at home too. And I can personally say for myself here is that when I faced a lot of my own struggles, it was incredibly hard for myself and challenged me in my own faith quite a lot. And I'd love to have a testimony with some of you have asked about this too, but I want to bring this up to you guys here. And then the other thing I want to do is I requested this for our board president, and I was mentioning kind of more so political shooting that did happen, is I want to also take this time just to pray for the school board, just take this time not to make a political statement, but just to share everyone here, invite you all for prayer for our own school, because I think there's a lot of pray you'll give all of our students the safety and the things they need to be able to bring themselves closer and to finish up their education as strong as possible. Lord, we know there's so many different students, so many different walks of life, and Lord, a lot of us here, we all come from different backgrounds, and sometimes we disagree with each other, and that's really the beautiful thing, be able to come closer, even with our disagreements. Lord, I pray you will bless the school board meeting and pray you will bring us the way forward for all this here in your name. Amen. Thank you. I'm very spiritual, in case you can't tell over here. This is just kind of my way, just brings up as a, not just as a board member, but just as me, myself, personally here. And for that, I want to thank you all, and feel free to ask me more about this scholarship here. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We will then go on to the school showcase, and we have the La Crosse Promise Future Center, and Kathy Millard is here. I'll let you two tag team, however you want to go.
Excellent. So we are fortunate to have had a long-standing relationship with the La Crosse Promise. And I'm sure Kathy will describe the program to some extent to kind of flesh out what it is. But it's been a great program, and we've been thankful to have Kathy here these last few years to be a part of the program. Dan, is it possible to put the top part of the podium down so we can see Kathy's beautiful face?
Can do that. There we go.
Still working out the logistics of this place.
All right, thank you. There we go. Thanks, Dr. Engel. As Dr. Engel said, I am Kathy Millard. I'm the Future Center Advisor with La Crosse Promise. This is the start of my 4th school year, so I'm excited for that. And I will just state another thing. I love my job. This is one of the greatest jobs that in my long career of working, this is my favorite job ever. So we're going to learn more about it as we go through this process. Also here tonight is Julie Sawyer. She is the Future Center Advisor at Logan. And Amanda Acklin is also here. She's the Executive Director of La Crosse Promise. Promise has been around since 2012, so we have had a presence at both Central and Logan since then. Future Center Advisors have changed a bit, but we've at least been here since 2000. Center, office, we're Future, all of that, but still people have no clue what it is. So then I get to tell them. That's the great part about it. Here are some things. I tell them, really, we help students plan for their future after high school. That's career ready, future ready, job ready. And we do that in a number of different ways that we're kind of looking at on the screen here. But really, it's above and beyond what the students, or I'm sorry, what the teachers and the counselors have time to do. And as you can see, this list kind of summarizes that. So I don't know too many teachers or counselors who can sit down with a student for an hour or 2 or 3 at some point and go through a college application, or help them repeatedly with an essay to get it right to the point where they're going, I want to submit my application because I think I'll get in with this. We do career exploration. Who can sit down with a student repeatedly and go, what do you want to do? What are we going to look at? Where are we going to go? Future Center advisors can do that. Scholarships, we were talking about that. We help with that. Financial aid, FAFSA, we love that word. It's going to be easier this year, better than last year even, that's what they say. We do campus tours, job shadows. Smile, we'll wait till you have to do it and we'll see how easy it is, right, Owen? But interviewing and resumes and so much more. So the easiest way to kind of describe some of the things we do is show you some pictures. So one of the best parts about the job is we get to go into the classroom. I love talking to students, love going in there, talk to Owen's class, remember talking to Adam's classes. That gets us in front of the students to say, here we are as the Future Center, this is what we can help you with, guys. Come and see us, come and make those appointments. So at this point, we've talked to all the seniors so far to get them to come in because they are working on essays and applications right now. We're working with the juniors next, and then we'll get to the sophomores, and then we'll get to the freshmen. So eventually we'll get to all of them before the end of the year, but that's where we're at right now. So we love going to the classrooms is just one of the best spots ever. We take a lot of selfies, so you will notice that there's a lot of selfies that are part of this presentation as we continue to go through. Essays and applications, that takes a big chunk of our time right now. They have questions. Sometimes they don't even know where to start with essays, especially. Eau Claire, Madison, and UWL are some of our top 3 schools. They all have essay questions. And so it seems like it's easy, and then you look at the question going, I don't know what to write. That's when we as the advisors can sit down and help them and make it perfect. Caitlin, the Minnesota girl there, she just finished her application after working really hard on it, so we needed to take a picture to document going, we were done, because she worked really hard on it to do that. Also part of the process is financial aid. We have a financial aid night that we do at both Central and Logan. We offer that to parents and students. Some come together as a family, some come just separate. It's perfect on parent-teacher conference night because they're already coming to school anyway. In fact, we will have it for the first time in this newly revised room, so excited to offer it to them. We invite our partners from either UWL or Viterbo or Western. An individual from Viterbo this year will be presenting the program. It's not about Viterbo financial aid, it's just financial aid in general. So it applies to really any school that they go to. But we work closely with Viterbo, Western, and UWL in a variety of ways during the course of the year. Financial aid night is one of them. As we move on from financial aid night, then FAFSA is coming up, so we do a FAFSA completion night where we again reach out to some of our partners. Viterbo hosted last year, they are hosting again this year as well. Again, for either parents and students or all of the above to come. A lot of questions get answered that night. We have 30 or 40 families that show up, and a lot of questions after that. So the students will come in for individual help, or parents will call or email as well in order to get answers to their questions. And honestly, some of them I know and some of them I don't, and if I don't, then we reach out to those partners again or to the school they're applying to get them answered. Career exploration is a big one. We do a lot of one-on-ones with students to determine where they would like to go after high school, but we have some great events that take place in this community with a lot of our partners. This is Healthcare Career Day. Mayo and Amplified do a big thing at UWL, all hands-on, CPR, x-rays, ultrasounds. They learn how to count the proper pillage for pharmacy. They're taking blood pressures. An absolutely fabulous day. We have a bus load that we take to that. This is Teacher Day. We spend time at UWL, Viterbo, and Western, and they all talk about if you want to be a teacher, this is what we offer you at our schools. And again, we have a number of students who want to go into the teaching profession, and this is a great way for them to learn about that right in our own backyard. National Guard had a career day as well for those thinking about taking that path. This was new this year. They're going to be part of something coming up later this year for us, but that was, again, all hands-on, all on the machinery, medical, communications, weapons. It was fantastic day. They were a great host. The one picture on the far left with the girl in the green shirt, we are going there on Monday. That's the Wisconsin Education Fair. 100 colleges, universities, military will be on hand, so the kids can go around and ask all these admission counselors, say, hey, what have you got for me? And it's an in-person person that they can talk to and not just someone online. We have a full bus to go to that too. UWL is hosting for the first time this year, so excited to be there and see what the field house is like. It'll be packed. It will be packed. Build My Future, we take buses, several buses of students to this. This is all hands-on for the trade. Welding, circuitry, siding. You want to learn how to use a drill, you'll learn how to use a drill. You've never hammered before, you can learn how to use a hammer. Some of these kids have never touched a power tool or just even a hand tool, and they get all hands-on with the La Crosse Area Builders Association. That's a great day. This takes place in April, one of the most fun events, and they all get a t-shirt. One thing we started last year, we talked about all these community partners and all these great people that are in the community, Lunch and Learns. So we invited some professionals to come in. These were all student-led themes. So there was a number of students that said they're interested in cosmetology. Somebody from the School of Beauty came. We're interested in business and real estate. Marvin Wanders from 360 came in and becoming an electrician. So Hippie, yes, that is his name. That's what he goes by. His real name is Chris, but he's known as Hippie. Came in and talked to the kids about what it takes to become an electrician. Again, the students had interest in this. They grabbed their lunch, went into a classroom. Classroom was full, the 2 lunches that we had. So we are planning to do that again. Our next one will be in October, and we're going to talk about criminology, the new program at UWL. The advisor is coming over to talk about that. The kids are highly interested in that, so how to do that. So I'm excited to have her come over and speak. College tours and visits, again, counselors can't take a whole day or a day and a half. Sometimes our days are long. We might hit 2 colleges in a day, but that's what we are here to do. Many of these students that go on these college tours, this is their only chance to get on a college campus that isn't right locally here. And that's the way that we can do it, by doing these college tours and really getting them, again, to see what else is out there. We usually do a bigger campus and a smaller campus, so Whitewater and Madison, maybe River Falls, Twin Cities, something on that order, or a campus and a business. This is Whitewater. We went to the Twin Cities, River Falls, Madison. If possible, if we have connections with the student that's there, I'll text or call and say, hey, we're coming to Madison. Will you meet us at the Union at this time? And they'll come over and then talk about, hey, this is what life is really like now that I'm out of high school and I'm here as a student. So Kathy was right. Listen to her. This is what she said it's really actually is. So it's always good to see the students on a campus and see how they're doing after high school. So we have a couple of those set up coming up too. I'm showing this one in particular. This was UW Green Bay. Yes, the picture in the middle is a bathroom. UW Green Bay is the only campus that has their own bathrooms in the dorm rooms. So all the students were just mesmerized by that. So I thought a picture would be one way to note that. And then we went to Lambeau Field as a tour. And we focused not just because it was cool and it was Lambeau Field, but what are the jobs and the occupations that it takes to make Lambeau Field work. And so the tour guides were able to talk about all the, just envision Lambeau Field and what it takes. And so the tour guides were absolutely fantastic. And there are hundreds of different jobs that take a lot of education or not so much education, but something. So the kids really, really love that. And of course, the bathroom picture too as well. And we have a couple kids that went to UWGB. Winona State, UWL, we visited there too. Not only do we do out of campus, but we got people that come to visit us. So a lot of the campuses will come during lunch. They'll set up their table, and then they can talk to the students, and we talk to the students as well. But that's a great way. If they didn't get to WEF, or we're not going to go to Ripon, or we're not going to get to maybe Viterbo, or it's just not working in their schedule, they're coming to see us. So that's another great thing that we offer. One of the biggest things that we do, and this is one of the most fun events that I've ever had to plan, is the Future Fair. If you have not been to the Future Fair, I'm going to invite you, and I'll send you an email with the actual dates and the times. It's coming up in February. This will be my 4th time now that I've planned this. Again, we are super unique because there's no other place in the state of Wisconsin that has a Future Center, let alone a Future Fair the size that we have. So there was a Cooley Career Fest last week. We have more people than what they had at the Cooley Career Fest. We have almost 50 different we have universities, we have 2-year, we have 4-year colleges, but we have a number of different businesses, all that represent the pathways that we have in the district that we talk about on a regular basis with our students. This year we're adding some folks from the National Guard to bring some of their equipment in, so they will be part of the Future Fair. In the one corner, the one picture up there, you'll see the fire. That is, they could go on the computer and they could actually put a fire out via computer. So the fire department brought that in, and that was a big hit at the Future Fair. We've had pet therapy dogs; those are also a big hit. This is a great way. We've had 600-700 students at each school that attend. They come through. It's from 11 to 1:30, so some more block time hours, so a little bit longer. Teachers will bring their students down. We play bingo to get them engaged. with the exhibitors. We'll go into the classroom and talk to them going, please don't go up to the table and just grab a pen and run. Engage with they want to talk to you. And we have no trouble getting anybody coming to the fair to exhibit. All the employers are like, absolutely. We'd be more than happy to come. They want to talk to the high school students and share what their career is like. They do so many adult career fairs. They love coming to do the high school ones. So we do that at both Central and at Logan. That's coming up at the end of February. So these are just some different pictures from that. Again, we do super well, and the kids just love it. And so do the teachers, and it's getting bigger and better each year. We do other stuff, too, that we partner with. All of these are with partners. We don't do this just ourselves. We partner with those businesses. We partner with student services. Here at Central, the student services do a presentation with the seniors kind of, I think, in March. Like, it's time for you to get ready. If you applied to 3 colleges and you were going to one, tell 2 you can't go. All these little things, your housing date, this date, things that those seniors that are going to walk out the door need to know. We also talk about scholarships. So we have a scholarship meeting with our seniors as well to let them know you got to apply for scholarships. This was registration day, so we have a presence at registration day both at Logan and at Central. It gets our face in front of all the students, and there's a lot of parents that come on registration day as well, and it just gets more recognition for us, and a lot of parents will come up and saying, what do you do? What do you? I'm sending my kid to you, or they make note of it. So it's always good to be different places. Again, more things that we've attended. I have to mention the girl in the pink shirt. This was at a Southern Bluffs career event that we had, and I asked all the little kids, I'm like, what do you want to be when you grow up? She said, I want to be a marine biologist. And the mom was like, oh, that's great. And I'm like, well, why a marine biologist? I like fish sticks. So you never know what's going to come out of the mouths of babes, but it's always fun to be at those events. And a lot of them had some really good answers about what they wanted to do. So it's, again, really fun. We're starting at that age. We got to start younger to get them thinking about what they want to do. So we have fun at those events, too. We talked about scholarships. Lacrosse Promise does provide scholarships to a student at Central and at Logan. So we do attend the scholarship presentations and present to the student. The student services scholarship committees pick the winner. We do not have any say in that, but we do have a parameter. Our parameter is you need to go on to do something in education. It could be a 2-year or a 4-year school. We don't care, but it's got to be something in education. The photo in the middle is Andrew. He's at Eau Claire right now, and he wants to teach high school or middle school history and maybe do some traveling in teaching that. And Ava is the Logan winner, and she's going to Viterbo to work in early education and wants to work with the first and second graders. 2 great students, 2 great recipients. Anything we can do to help financially, we provide that as well. That's just kind of an extra bonus for us. Here's some happy kids that got into wherever they were going to go. So again, we have to take pictures of that. Just fantastic students. I help them in some way, shape, or form. Speaking of students helping in some way, shape, or form, we'll hope that this works. Again, these are former graduates that I reached out to just say, hey, tell us a little bit about the Future Center and how it helped. This is Alex.
How has the Future Center helped me? Well, it's helped me in so many different ways, from helping me apply to college to finding scholarships and even helping me with my FAFSA. The Future Center was a great resource whenever I needed questions about anything about my future. And you might be asking yourself, the Future Center really that important? Well, I believe so. I always went to the Future Center whenever I needed help with things that I simply didn't understand. When you're in high school, you're going to experience a lot of things that you may not know the answer of, and the Future Center is a great resource to go get those questions answered.
Oops. This is, so Alex is going to Madison, so he'll start his sophomore year, and we'll connect with him when we go on a school tour coming up in November. This is Sam. Sam is going to BYU. Okay, why should everybody use the Future Center?
Well, I think the main reason why someone should use the Future Center is because of Kathy Millard. I don't know if you know Kathy, but she's a great lady. She's very personable and friendly, always eager to help. But if you have any questions about college applications, FAFSA, anything in life, even if you're just looking to chat, Kathy's always there to go and chat with. It's been a massive help for my college application process and my FAFSA. She's very diligent in reminding people about their FAFSA. She can help you with all of that and can help you get into your colleges and universities.
I want to invite, I've got some current students. We've been going a little long, so I'll move it along a little bit. So this is a current senior, but he's got to go to jazz band rehearsal, so we'll get him in.
Hi, my name is Lyndon Torkelson. I'm a senior here at Central High School. And in addition to being a student, I'm also a 2 varsity sport member and a music student. So I just have a lot on my plate, and the Future Center has been just amazing for me. It's been just helpful when I've had so much on my plate, just helping me with college applications, college essays. And just recently, I was accepted into the South Dakota School of Mines and Technology. Yeah, that's all I've got to say. So, thank you.
Have fun at jazz band.
Thank you.
I'm going to play this one before I have one more student who's a junior. But this particular student is going to the University of Minnesota. You'll figure that out. But we need to play her.
My name is Maddie Biondo. I'm a sophomore here at the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities. I graduated from Central back in 2024, and today I'm going to be telling you a little bit about the Future Center and how helpful it was for me and how Kathy was so helpful in my college application process. So back in the fall of my senior year, I was feeling really lost, like I'm sure a lot of you are feeling. I didn't know exactly where to start, and I found out what the Future Center was from Kathy. She actually came into my resource and talked to our class a little bit about it. So I thought that'd be a good place to start. I ended up probably spending every single 8th hour study hall in Kathy's room working on my application. When I first came to Kathy, she was so welcoming, so caring, and she really made me feel like she wanted the best for my future and for me. She helped me rewrite 3 different essays. I felt like I had the perfect one. She helped me write answers to short answer questions on the application. She helped me answer questions about FAFSA and just things I really didn't understand at the time. And I strongly recommend using the Future Center because it is a great way to build your network. It's a great way to just learn a lot about the college application process. And even if you have a simple question, I'm sure she has the answer for you. And yeah, she was probably the first person that I went to when I found out that I got into Minnesota. And once again, I strongly recommend using the Future Center, and I wish you guys the best of luck.
She was one of the first people that she came right away and said that she got into the University of Minnesota. She also told her sister, remember the picture in the beginning with the girl with the Minnesota banner? That was her sister. She applied to the University of Minnesota because her sister went there and she wanted to go, and she got waitlisted. And she's waitlisted. She wasn't happy. But she got into Madison. It's like, okay, great, you got into Madison, sweet. She comes maybe 2 weeks later and says, I got in. I'm like, well, yeah, you're going to Madison. Like, what do you mean? She goes, no, I got into the University of Minnesota. She got off the wait list and was accepted and went, and tears are streaming down her face because she was so excited. And she goes, you're the first person I told. She hadn't even told her parents yet. She had gotten an email. So that can be the power of relationships and just kids that you do, and that's really the power of the Future Center. I have one more student here who's a junior, so she's not quite a senior, but she's getting there, but we need to hear her thoughts as to what the Future Center is.
Hi, my name is Rachel Egan. I'm a junior at Central, and I think that this Future Center is really important for all students looking into their future. Next week, Monday, we are going to WEF, the Wisconsin Education Fair at UWL. I convinced like 3 of my friends to join me going to this so that we can walk around to all the booths and get all of the information, because one of my friends is so obsessed with colleges. She likes learning everything about them and is comparing like 6 or 8 right now, but consistently is going back to the Future Center to get more help, to look at more information. And the Future Center is just such a great place to get advice on everything. I went in there asking about jobs and about applications and about volunteer opportunities that I could use for my resume just to build it up and really prepare myself for my future. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. I think that pretty much sums up what the Future Center does. If you have any questions, please feel free.
I went on tours to Green Bay, which is now one of my top colleges, top on my list, and then went and toured Madison. I think it's really great to have the opportunities. It's really nice to be able to get the information at all the career fairs and things like that. They do really great work, and I'm very glad that we have it at Central.
School boarding. I work in the admissions office at UWL. I'm the director of transfer admissions over there. So when you realize you've made a horrible mistake and you want to come home, I'll be there waiting for you. But I just wanted to comment on what an important resource even the seemingly simple things like the essay help really can be. In a past life, I also worked for a private college application support, kind of a concierge service, and it is not cheap to have access to those kind of resources, and the fact that we have this help right in our schools, that we have somebody who obviously creates such strong relationships, such supportive relationships with students, to be able to support them through that whole process is phenomenal. It's not something that everyone has and has access to, and I just think it's amazing that we have created that opportunity in our district. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
I just have a comment. Recently, I just had a rough weekend. It was my birthday. And beginning of September, I noticed that while I was going through my Facebook that I could raise money for Lacrosse Promise. Is one of the things that you could do for your birthday. You reach out to people, and I'm happy to see I surpassed my goal, and that was one of them. So I think it's important for people to realize that it's an important piece to lacrosse, and it's obviously very important to our students, but it isn't free. I mean, somebody's got to pay this, so anything we can do to help, I'm sure is appreciated, and any funds given, I'm sure, is appreciated as well. So don't be afraid to give, people. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. Clearly, the student testimonials are excellent, and thank you to the students that came to speak. That's not easy to stand in front of us and do that. So is there any kind of data that talks about a percentage of our students getting accepted versus other schools, or is there anything like that shows our level of success because we have this great resource in our community?
I don't have a specific, we have great success. We can, I don't have a percentage in front of me of how many go on to higher education. I do have that data that I can share with you later.
Yeah, I think, I mean, there's having some of the data to show about not just the student testimonials, which
Right.
are remarkable, but I think sometimes the data kind of helps back that up to talk about how important the work is that you do and how successful it is.
Correct.
One of the things I appreciate about the Future Center is college admission is certainly a large focus of things, but it's really any pathway as well. It's helping kids find their right fit, whether it's technical college, joining the military, going straight to the workforce,
Right.
maybe an apprenticeship. And so, I mean, you've placed people in any possible pathway.
All of the above.
Yeah.
Yes, all of the above. Yeah, it's not just about college. It's really, becoming life ready. We are often, one, I don't have a name. I'm the Future Center lady. Two, we are Switzerland. So we are often that neutral person from mom or dad want the kid to go here and the kid wants to go here or wants to do a job or wants to do it. So we often play the role of Switzerland. So we have different faces and different things we do, but it really is, it's 2, it's 4 year, it's the military, it's a job. We just want to make sure that they are as career and life ready as possible when they walk out this door. So anything that we can do to help that, we will do.
Any other questions? Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you for your time tonight. Appreciate it. So
we'll move on to the superintendent's consent agenda. The superintendent's consent agenda is a mechanism used by the board to deal with routine business that must come before the body. Are there any items members want to remove from the superintendent's consent agenda? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, you have a motion by Dr. Sprague, seconded by Mr. Bagneski. Any questions? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. We then move on to the approval of the board consent agenda, and this consent agenda is a mechanism used by the board to deal with routine business that must come before the body as well. Are there any items members want to remove from the board's consent agenda? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve the board consent agenda as presented.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the items in the board consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Manka. Do we have a second?
Seconded.
Thank you,
look.
Thank you, Dr. Sprague.
Gotta get space for others, right?
Any questions? Discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. We'll then move on to the referendum construction plan update, and I'll turn that over to Dr. Engel.
Our primary piece of business is in action with the bids for the State Road Elementary School addition, so we could expand the conversation then if that makes more sense, but otherwise, that's the largest part of our conversation today. So.
Board's okay, we'll do that. Then we'll move on to the seclusion and restraint report, which is an annual report we have to look at.
Yep, so I want to invite up Ms. Ami Zabrowski, our Director of Student Services. It's a report we've been putting together for years, and so I'll have her describe it a little bit and talk about the program.
Yeah, so this report, we are required every year to report on the number of seclusions and restraints that we use in our schools to the board, and then we also report out to DPI every year. Just some background, when we're talking seclusion restraint is physically restraining students' use of their torso, arms, legs, or head, and seclusion is involuntary confinement in a space that a student's not allowed to leave. We use these practices only in the worst case scenarios where there's an imminent threat to the safety of that specific child or to other people, and there's no other there are no other interventions that we can do to prevent harm from occurring. You can see also in the report, it talks a little bit about the training that we do. We have teams trained in every school. They are trained under a specific model to prevent student crisis, but then also safe ways to intervene when we have these significant situations. And then you can see the data reported, both last year's data and the year prior. I will note, while there was an increase this last year in the use of both seclusion and restraint, we have seen significant reduction in the use of seclusion and restraint over the last 6 or 7 years. We had around 2016, 17, we're seeing like 400 or 500 uses of each in a given school year. So we've done a lot of things to reduce that, to train staff to intervene earlier and to prevent these type of situations from occurring. So with that, I can take questions. I can go into more detail about any of it, but.
There's some organizations listed here that aren't our buildings. Can you explain why they're on there?
Yeah, so those organizations are listed. We're required to report out on any students that we place in alternative education, and they also have to keep records on their use of seclusion and restraint. So Chile Connections and Driftless Pass are the 3 primary alternative education programs that we utilize for those purposes.
Yes, Jim.
You indicated there's significant reduction in terms of these acts.
Yep.
Do you have a reason what the district changed? We got new kids in?
I think we've just gotten really, really good at supporting students and being more proactive. We've done intentional things in terms of our training. We've been more purposeful in our training of staff. We're really purposeful about who the people from the buildings that are trained are, so that they have a disposition to go and diffuse situations rather than jumping to more significant interventions. We also, the state requires it, but even prior to the state requiring it, we required a debrief after every incident of seclusion and restraint. So people that were involved, they meet, they have to talk about what happened and how to prevent a similar thing from happening in the future. And we have staff at the district level that go and help support those conversations. So it's kind of a combination of all those things that really led us to be just more mindful and intentional about our proactive practices and how we diffuse those intense situations rather than jumping to those really significant adult interventions.
Thank you.
Yep.
You kind of prefaced my question already was about the jump for this year, and,
Yeah.
and so I'm glad you were able to put that into some context. So do you see this year as kind of anomalous, where we were really on that downward trajectory? And like I said, 91 up from 45 in seclusions felt like a lot
Yeah.
when I read it.
Yeah, no, and as I look at it from year to year, I was like, oh, we kind of almost doubled last year. I think we've been on a downward trend, and we're kind of fluctuating up and down over the last couple of years. I don't think it's an anomaly. I do think that we have some significant needs coming into our buildings that are requiring a little bit more intensive intervention. It often is with our youngest kids. We do, and you can see in the data, our middle schools, high schools don't use these interventions, partially because a lot of times we get police involved when it rises to that level, and the students are of similar size and harder to manage behavior at those ages, just to be transparent. And as I know you've talked about it at previous meetings, we have a lot of little ones that are coming in, and they're needing lots and lots of exposure to good, consistent behavioral practices in classrooms, and we're working with them through learning those things and adjusting to what a school setting and group settings is like. And so I attributed a bit to that. I also, you can see in the numbers too that it's not a lot of students, and sometimes one student can throw off your data for a whole year, or just a couple can, so. Yeah.
I think that was to my question. When you see 27 at Spence, but 6 students involved, it's the same 6 students for the 27. Is 27 like one day? When you what counts as a number of seclusions? Is it one day, one class period, one?
Any incident, so like if a student in seclusion for 1 minute is considered an incident of seclusion. So when they're when you put them in a space where they're confined by themselves and they're not able to leave, regardless of length. Same is true for restraint, regardless of length that you use it, whether it's for 10 seconds or 10 minutes, it's considered one incident.
And that probably doesn't count like moving. I've seen like regulation rooms or something. That would be different, right?
Yeah, that would be different because you have an
It's
adult in
voluntary.
there, there's purpose behind those activities, yeah. This is truly when it's not even safe for the adult to be in the room, in the space with a student, and we're not allowing the student to leave. Sometimes physical proximity just, is enough to kind of de-escalate situations, and it doesn't have to be a seclusion.
I have a question.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Are the parents notified, I'm assuming, like right
Yes.
away that they're in there? And
Yep, we have legal requirements that we have to notify parents within 24 hours, and then we also have to have a written report provided to them within 3 days, and so we comply with all of that. If the student has an IEP after their second incident of seclusion or restraint, we have to hold another IEP meeting and review their plan and make updates to their plan to address whatever led to that intervention. Yep.
This is a report that's required by the state, where I worked with Human Services, and we serve kids with disabilities. Occasionally, those students where they were living or in the program there might have to be seclusion restraint in these reports. And quite frankly, I think it's unfortunate we have to get to these points with the students, but it's really good that there's a reporting system that doesn't just go on unnoticed and unreported and unaddressed. Because that's not always good for kids either, so.
100%.
Appreciate the report, and I think, quite frankly, it's highlighting an issue that Superintendent and I have talked about with the behaviors, and I think we'll be having some information in upcoming months talking about what the district is doing regarding some of these behaviors, so.
Yeah, welcome that.
Thank you.
Thank you
Any-
very
I'm
much.
sorry, we have one more.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Emerson.
I just want to touch on the training that the other teachers are having for the other students. As someone who went to Northwoods when they were in elementary school, I think I remember at least 3 times that this happened. And the teachers are doing an amazing job. I remember me and my classmates being confused, but feeling really safe and feel like we're in a good environment. So I just want to say thank you.
No, thank you. That highlights a really important point that this is like the intense intervention that happens, but our staff are really, really good at working with all the other students, making sure that we're getting them away from these situations and keeping them safe, and then helping them reassuring their safety in the classroom when these type of events happen. So thank you for bringing that up.
I think it's important also to realize it's not just about the safety of others, it's about the safety of the child that this is happening with too, and it's important to make sure people understand that, because it is, while we, don't want to restrain anyone, there's a reason we have to.
Yes. Yes.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you for the
Okay,
report.
thank you very
Patrice.
much.
Thank you.
Then we will go on to District Vision and Portrait of a Graduate. Now we'll turn it over to Dr. Engel.
We're at towards the end of probably a 6-month process.
Started in February.
February, okay, a 9-month process, yes. It's been, it started with a steering committee coming together. It was self-nominated from our community. We sent out a request for anyone who wanted to get involved, and we were able to take about half of the folks that put their name in the ring. Hat in the ring, and we convened to think about how we wanted to gather information. And so the committee decided that a survey and focus groups would be a great way to do it. Use the same question for both the survey and the focus groups. We got about 1,800 responses on the survey, and we did well over 20 focus groups to get a variety of different voices and collected a lot of data. And I was impressed by our steering committee's ability to weed through all of that, start to find some sort of organization and structure, and ultimately arrived at some of these samples that we have here. There were 2 different things that came out of that group. First was a district vision, some aspirations that we want to be as a school district, and the second was a portrait of a graduate, the characteristics our students should have when they leave our schools. And so you'll see examples of those 2 things. It's on an information item, so just kind of exploration and discussion. There's the point we're at right now is, how do we want to present this information to our community? How do we want to adopt it if it's the board's will? And so thinking about both with the portrait of a graduate work and the district visioning work, how should we display this information so that it's accessible to our community and can guide us in our work moving forward? There's 2 examples of the portrait of a graduate. One's in a circle motif, like you see here. Second one has a graduate cap, and there's little icons for each. For the district visioning, 3 different layouts, different ways to view it, and ideas and thoughts, and happy to refine any of those, update, add, whatever the board's will may be. So just interested in some discussion to learn more about how the board's looking at these.
Before we take it, I served on the committee, and it was a great committee to work on. I will say that the input from the community was pretty cohesive. It wasn't like it was all over the place and we had to kind of thin it out. There were some very strong messages, and I think that's what you see here. The other thing that I want to point out to consider as you're looking at the options, the vision, we talked about our last meeting, the vision, everything we're doing in the vision is to create the portrait of a graduate. So we kind of want these 2 documents to work together. They are separate documents, but one supports the other. And so I did want to kind of point that out. So Dr. Sprague, any questions?
I have just a quibble about the circle motif, and that the language used for, and I understand the reason for it, on communicators changes to effective communicators, and so there's inconsistency in the actual verbiage there, and I don't know that effective communicators would fit on the circle motif. But from an accessibility standpoint, I think while I like the graduate cap, I think that just the iconography and everything would be a little harder to parse, and I appreciate that you kept the text relatively light and to the point, and I think that the lighter background with the contrast with the darker text has, and the sans serif fonts are all good.
Excellent.
Jim?
I thought you really did a pretty good job on all of it. If you ask me as far as which of the vision ones I like, I prefer the one that is horizontally across the top of the page because it doesn't, I don't know, this is maybe very minor, but it doesn't put one above the other. They're all at the same level.
Yeah.
And so that was most appeasing to me, but everybody in art has a different eyesight.
Yeah, I think the long columns of text is a little bit more challenging, but otherwise, yeah, putting them on a level is nice. I forgot to extend my quibble to character-centered and students of character as well are indicated. So.
Happy to take suggestions on students of character for a better adjective, noun, phrasing.
Oh,
I really like the circle motif. I feel like it shows that like for a graduate, you're not just one thing. You have to have all of these things to be successful. And I feel like it really ties that together well. I also I believe it is the third option available, the sample 5. Just in that same kind of mindset, I feel like it can tie it all together as the vision cannot be separated from each other. And I feel like that's really important to keep in mind and makes it really nice, or clearer to people who are just kind of checking it at a glance.
Other comments, input?
I like the circle one as well. Well, he said it very well, so I won't go into big detail, but I think it's short and simple. It's the KISS method, right? And I think once you look at it, it kind of pops and it gives you, yes, a few of the words can be changed up a little, but I think it really sets our goal relatively easy to look at as well.
I would agree with Scott.
Do have to shout out Bethany Nugent, our tech integrationist. She helped make these on my behalf, and so I'm grateful to her skills.
I will say the circle motif also feels very on brand for the other things that the district has released for information. I feel like it's very cohesive.
That's true.
Thank you. Any other comments? I thought this was going to be much more lively and, but this is good. It's nice we come together. Being on the committee, I didn't have a preference. Also, like on wordsmithing things, watching paint dry would be equally pleasant for me. I just, like the big ideas I like coming up with, but the rest of it is not my thing, and like, these all presented are ideas, so I didn't have a strong opinion, so I appreciate what you have to say, and I'm sure the committee will too.
These sentences are very dense. There's a lot of very purposeful words in there, and accessibility
Argued about for hours.
may be a challenge in some cases, but I think it was all very purposeful and intentional.
I mean, I can talk about the choice of tense if you want, and the future perfect being indicative of hope. And,
As long as it's indicative of hope, I'm
It
happy
is.
to hear more.
It's aspirational. I really appreciate the way they were written.
After the meeting, you guys can talk.
Good point, Mr. Newmeister. We have other things too.
The committee really had a lot of different backgrounds and lots of different philosophies and points of view, but really agreed to what we came up with, which I thought was really, it was a really good process. Again, the community gave us pretty clear direction what the big pieces were, but again, how we phrased them and what individual words said something versus another, I think. We had a lot of discussion, but really careful thought, really I mean, these are not on the school board people, these are just people in the community and really put in a lot of effort, so I want to thank everybody who participated in that. Do you have what you need?
Any other thoughts from folks who haven't had a chance to weigh in? Happy to take other comments as well. We'll bring back some final drafts here when we come and meet in 2 weeks.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. We'll then move on to matters reserved for board action, starting with the award of construction bid for State Road Elementary School Edition.
Bids are in. I would invite Joe Ladvina to come up and help walk through the process that we had to get these bids, kind of what we saw from the bid opening day, and then the results and our recommendation.
Yeah, first of all, congratulations. It's exciting to see you are all part of the discussion. Where do we go with this elementary and then that whole process and through the design process? And tonight I bring forward the bid process. As we stated before, we advertised locally in our builders exchange, and through that process we had 3 bidders, all local companies. It was a great bid, if you will. When we started this process, there's no way we thought that we would be able to do everything that's in this bid. And so what you'll notice in the bid process, we're recommending 5 alternates. And really what those alternates do is allows us to upgrade the facilities so they all look uniform from the old portion of the building into the new portion of the building. And what I'll do is I'll just walk you through what each one of those are, if you would. The special education and sport spaces, those are spaces for our support people. It changes where they currently are into closer to the classrooms and gives them space to work with our students a little bit better by altering that. The next one is cubby replacement and collabs areas. We have collab areas in the new section, and so what this allows us to do is create those spaces mainly in the east wing that are uniform with the new one. Alternate number 3, classroom finishes, and that's really looking at flooring, painting, lighting, ceilings, so that it looks uniform as you go into each and every classroom. Classroom casework, we don't have a lot of casework in the current classrooms, but it allows us to upgrade those so that looks uniform with the others. And then the last one, storefront replacement, really making the outside doors and replacing 16 windows so they're uniform with everything else in the facility. So it really gives us that uniform look. We think that everything with this budget, we think everything fits really well. And so we're recommending that you approve all of them at this point.
And the special education and the collaboration areas, those came from our staff as they were working through this design.
Yeah, one of the things that we did through this whole process is we sat down with every staff at least twice. And I know Ami, who you saw up here earlier, she brought her staff together and we sat down with them more than twice, looking at those spaces, how could they better serve our students? And so they were all part of that process. The other thing I want to point out is if you look at the bid process, we broke out the bids a little bit so you can see by, so it looks, we broke it out by HVAC, civil landscaping, plumbing. That really gives us an idea of where are the bids coming in. So then when we look at the new school, are we on track? What are we looking at? And we feel really confident based on the bids that we've received here that the bids for the new school that we'll be bringing to you will go out in November, bringing back in December. We feel really confident in the numbers that we're going to be bringing back, especially as we talk to these contractors. Basically, what they're seeing is that the pricing of materials has really gone down. And so that's been a big part of it. Also, the other part of that is we looked for inflation, right? We're using inflationary numbers of about 7%. We're seeing next year, I think we'll see closer to 3%. So that all plays into us getting good bids at this time. Yes, sir.
Do those alternates that you wrote down here, they're not included in the bid above, are they?
No, they're not included in the base bid. So the base bid came in at $9,900,000, and then with all the alternates, it gives us $10,616,200. And
So if you took any of those, and what do they approximately add up to?
that was 700, and I should know that number, but 700 and some thousand, it's like 712 or something.
Okay, good enough.
So really feel good about where we're at with the bid process.
740.
First off, great job. It's nice to see that we're moving forward, and it's nice to see where the bids have come in, which was, I think we were all a little afraid,
Yes.
so.
We were as well. We were as well.
And
Yes.
it's really nice, and I'm very happy and proud that you guys went in and took major suggestions from the staff from there, because nobody's gonna know that building better than them, right? So
Exactly.
it's nice to see that their input is a big part of this, and I look forward to seeing it done.
It's going to be exciting, and we'll be bringing you upgrades and giving you tours as the process goes on as you'd like.
We'll be looking at a groundbreaking in the near future, and so it'll be a couple weeks' notice.
Do we get gold shovels?
Gold shovels.
Gold shovel.
Let's not do it in December, though.
Is that an alternate?
Yeah.
I will tell you this, they're looking at getting started as soon as possible, so in October, for sure, the beginning of October.
Dr. Sprague?
I'm just curious, I assume that it's built in here somewhere. Do you know, do they build in overhead and contingencies in each
Yes, we
line item?
do, and I
or-
should have broke out that
Okay.
number, but we do have a contingency in the number that we have, yes.
I have questions on some of the alternates. Almost 200,000 to move support staff seems expensive, but I understand that there's more into it than that. There was some bathroom issues for special ed.
Yeah, it's really changing some bathroom issues, making those a little bit better, creating their spaces where they need to separate some students, also putting those spaces where students are close to proximity where they'll be in class. And so it's really, when you start moving walls and things, you start to get into that expense, but it's, when we sat down with the special ed staff, they really felt it was important that that was a part of this design.
What is casework?
Casework's like cabinetry that you'll see, like in the back, we call that casework.
So my last question is, are these alternates, would they technically be included for funding as the referendum was written?
Typically, no. We kind of expanded that. So that's the reason why they're alternates. What we did was, we didn't know for sure when we did the budgeting at the first part of, when we decided to go to referendum. Again, we were talking about potential funding of being a little bit higher, but we've seen where we expected the budget to be. And so we provide alternates. Can we do extra things if the budget permits us to? And that's why we do the alternates, never knowing for sure how the bids are going to come in and if we could do those extra things.
But the money we get can only be spent on the referendum.
On the referendum.
But now these are things, I'm
These
not
would fall
just-
into that privy, yes, they would fall into, we would not be violating any laws by doing that.
I just want to make sure for the public that we're not,
Yes.
doesn't look like we're like, hey, we got a little bid, so let's spend some extra
No,
money.
we
I
did
wanna
not
make
do that
sure-
at all. We were able to expand the scope a little bit, but the bottom line is this is all verbiage that was allowed under the referendum.
I'm curious if the alternates also represent, so like if we have to dip into the contingencies for whatever reason and we have to end up cutting them, do they represent priorities as well?
Yes, they do. In fact, if we felt super confident going into this, we were concerned like everybody was. If we felt super confident, they would have been in the main spec.
Okay.
But we didn't know, and so looking at that, whenever you do that, you might have to make some decisions down the road. And so we separated them so we knew what those decisions might be.
I appreciate that the top two priorities are the areas that are really geared towards functionality for the staff and the faculty, yeah.
For the new elementary at the Hogan site, there will be alternatives as well, projects that we hope could fit into the scope, but if not, then we know where we are going to start with trimming back the project.
Okay, congratulations and thank you, and look forward to moving forward once you decide.
Let's get the shovels out.
Yes?
So we need a motion to approve these bids.
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the bid for the State Road Addition award of bid to Fowler and Hammer as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Dr. Sprague, seconded by Mr. Manka. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
That automatically includes all the alternatives?
Mhm.
That's what.
Yes.
Good clarification. We then move on to the proposed budget approval.
Listed in the attachment is the notice of the budget hearing, which includes the budget that will be published. And then Ms. Sprang has some additional information that we had discussed the last time we met.
So there was a question about the personnel. And going over those numbers with the person who does this in HR, she did take into consideration filled spaces that, or unfilled spaces that we have budgeted for. So so what I did is I put another column there as far as the FTE that's included in these budget dollars. And it will differ until we know, like last Friday was actually third Friday. And as I mentioned before, that's when we take the student count, and we also have to report our staffing as of that point. And that is what we will go forward to, even if those spaces are not filled. Do we have enough?
We do not have enough.
Let me just,
Was there 2 handouts? Oh.
Yeah, we'll hand ours down.
So, while we're, I can pass mine down. Patty, while we're passing
Sure.
down, can I ask, am I correct in understanding that then you have budgeted for hypothetical full employment?
correct.
Okay.
So we budget for the staff we need. And if you look at any of our HR reports from month to month during a school year, we have resignations, we have added. So, of course, this is always an educated guess. And that is what we are prepared to support. And if student needs change during the year, we would maybe have to add a position. Or we might have somebody leave and not replace them. This is the best we can do at this point. So, any questions? So the next report, when you get this for when you're approving the actual final budget and levy, you will have those numbers by employee group as of third Friday.
Do those numbers typically come from like building principals? Is that how those staffing numbers are
Yeah.
put forward for you to?
It's a long process where Mr. Wenthy, our HR director, meets with all of the principals, the secondary and primary directors as far as what staffing needs they're projecting.
Class sizes dictate a lot of it. You know, if our goal is, you know, about 25 students per teacher in a core class at the middle school, you know, we can look at the number of kids in the 7th grade and divide that out and pretty quickly get the number of teachers that we need to adequately support that grade level. Similar for elementary school, you know, if our target is 18-1 with a little bit better ratios in schools where we have higher needs, then, you know, we're using that as our benchmark. Of course, I think many of you were part of a workshop activity where we tried to like balance class sizes and things and looked at some scenarios. It gets tough when you have a 23 kids in a grade in a building. You know, do you have a large first grade class or do you have 2 smaller first grade classes? And so those are some of the challenges that we face as we're trying to balance all these staffing questions out. And you'll notice that on this budgeted line, some are larger, some are smaller. And that's because as of right now, we're still cleaning up some things from our system. So like there might have been overloads at 0.17 for some teachers that we were able to eliminate. And so those will go away and probably end up back at our budgeted rate. But second semester, we might have a need to increase. And so then the budgeted rate might be lower than what the final ultimately becomes. The teacher assistant line is about 5 TAs lower than the estimate, and that's because we anticipate hiring folks. We have vacancies right now that we have not hired yet, and we're still in the process of making that happen. So we anticipate 159 TAs. Ms. Zabrowski just stepped out, but you know, we've seen a lot of increases in special education needs, high behaviors, high needs, new referrals coming in with our students. And so that's one of the primary causes for increases in both teachers and TAs. It's the mandated services we have to provide to students through special education, which require hiring. And we are aided to some extent from the state on that, and we get a little bit of funding from the federal government to help mitigate some of those costs. But that's been the primary source of increases in our staffing over the last probably 8 years. We've seen declines in most other staffing groups except for special education because of that increased need.
Questions? So maybe I'm making this too simple, and your systems may be far more complicated than what the simple picture in my head is, but since the majority of your budget is personnel, I mean, it's the biggest cost, you have to start out with how many of, we have these teachers, they cost us this, you know, we don't know if they're gonna retire in the middle of the year, but we assume they won't, and that's how you come up with your budget. So, what would be helpful to me when we approve the final budget is to, what was the budgeted FTE in the last budget? I think, looking at the number of bodies, I mean, that has to change. A budget is a plan, and then sometimes plans change, because class sizes are bigger, smaller, there's more kids here than there are there, and you can't, like, when we did the exercise, there's 7 more, what do you do with 7? And so, a budget is a plan, it's the best plan you can come up with, but then some things have to kind of tweak inside of that. So I understand that. So the teacher assistants did go up. We heard that very clearly in our linkages, particularly the elementary schools last year, that people really wanted more help with TAs. So we heard that there's an increase in non-union staff. I'll have a question on that in just a second. But we are looking at 100 and some fewer students this year. You're waiting for your final Friday numbers, because today's technically the last day, I learned, in the 3-day formulas. It's really complicated. But I guess I'm struggling with, how do we pay for more staff? We had a request for more staff, so I'm not necessarily hating it altogether, but we're paying for more staff, we have fewer students. And if we continue to do that, we have to be able to be accountable to the public too, so I'm struggling with that a little bit. So that's just where my head is at. But what are the non-union support staff, like what kind of positions are those?
Oh,
And what are the increases? Because it looks like we increased those by several as well.
As you remember, we had talked about how the psychs were
Okay.
used to be on the teacher's salary schedule, and they are now on the non-union support schedule. So that's a big part of that addition.
Some of our
There-
Fund 80 positions fall into that, you know, so if we authorize the early childhood coordinator, that falls into that role.
But that wouldn't be an increase, because we approved that last year, correct?
We didn't hire that position. It wasn't hired at the time.
But it was budgeted.
But given that these numbers that we reported last year were kind of like snapshot in time as opposed to budgeted. So what you're looking for is those budgeted numbers, and so that number would probably go up from last year when we try and find that
Because-
budgeted number.
And the picture in my head, and I'm not trying to be difficult, but our job is to approve a budget. So we
Yes.
compare budget to budget. Operationally, you have to make some tweaks. And that's, our policies allow for that, that's what we'd expect you to do. So that, I'm just trying to compare, like, what was in the budget here to what was in the budget there, and what's the difference, and what am I approving? That's what
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand, and I'm not trying to be difficult about it, because the actual is different, and it, I expect it will be different with this many bodies, it's gonna
Yep.
be somewhat different, but that's your job to figure out, because based on what we're approving for number of positions, that translates into dollars. Somebody that makes more might retire, so then you hire somebody that makes less, it gives you a little bit of gap, so then you can hire over here. Like, I get you have to do those things. So I'm just trying to compare budget to budget, because I only approve the budget. The operational stuff I don't do. And so I'm just trying to understand my job and make sure I have the information to do my job.
So one piece of context that might be helpful that I'm thinking about now with what you just said there is, you know, where our revenue is limited. We only get so much money. The state says you can only have so much based on the revenue limit. And locally, our taxpayers have said you can have a little bit more because we passed a referendum, which is amazing. And so we only have so many dollars to work with. And so, and our increases don't equal inflation. So functionally, we have a little less money each year. And the way we kind of figured out some stuff this year to make some staffing increases was because of the efficiencies that we found through busing. So we have to become more efficient operationally. And so, you know, we saved maybe $200,000 a year by aligning with the private school students so that we have fewer days of transportation. We changed to 2-tier busing, which allowed us to cut 5 bus routes and save about $350,000. And so represented in here is some special education teaching staff, some behavioral specialists, some TAs, different types of positions, some non-union staff that allow us to meet what we were hearing in linkages from our teachers. And so those are all built in. And so that's how, you know, even though we have the same budget year to year, you know, it's this about the same amount of money, we're able to do more with the few funds that we have. We are trying to find budgeted numbers from last year. It's difficult because our systems don't take snapshots in time and memorialize them. They're kind of running records. And so Patty and I are discussing how to figure out how to compare backwards to give you that direct year-to-year comparison you're looking for.
I had a similar question. I think we're thinking about it in similar ways and trying to understand how do we account for the movement of the columns in different directions and things. My question is, so if I'm remembering from our last meeting in the budget book, we saw like a 1.5% staffing increase. Am I roughly on track there? That's what I remember.
What is it?
Something like that.
It was close. At any rate, whatever it was.
About there, yep.
So my question around the percentages then is actually, even like anecdotally, are we, with that increase, are we less understaffed than we were last year? Right.
Absolutely.
Okay,
If
that's what
you
I'm
talk
concerned
to our elementary teachers this year, aside from one grade level and one building, they would say that there's a much different feel this year, and it's directly related to our initial level of special education staffing and the behavioral support specialists that we hired to help make some impacts. Also, at some of our buildings, we were understaffed last year because we couldn't find the right people to fill those roles, and we were able to, since then, be able to figure that out. So, the first couple of weeks at Hamilton Elementary School, I have heard, have gone really well and smoothly because they were fully staffed for the first time in a while. I know Southern Bluffs had some really challenging students, but we were able to leverage some of those new resources to help teachers figure out these big behaviors and manage things. And it's still a lot, right? But we're able to make things much better, much faster as a result. And that really impacts the day-to-day experience of teachers and our students that are trying to learn in those classrooms.
I'm glad to hear that. I really appreciate it because I think what gets missed in a lot of the conversations and the kind of the public understanding is the degree to which school districts have been asked for a long time to do less with more, or more with less, other way around, to do more with less, and that the assumption that we already started from full employment, right, and that all of our needs were already met, all of our positions were already full, that muddies the data a little bit. So I'm glad to know that if we're seeing that increase, it's bringing us closer to that full employment where presumably in those conversations with between HR and the building administrations, that they're not asking for a cohort of 800 teaching assistants for one building, right? And that negotiation comes up with a solid, realistic number about what their needs are and what our capacity is and what is going to create the excellent experience that our students deserve. So good to know that.
Yeah, and I think it plays out in our student to staff ratios. We have passed a referendum, which is huge, and that allows us some additional staffing, but functionally, we have about the same amount of money as every other school district in the state on a per pupil basis. We have just leveraged that in ways that lead to more staff available to educate kids than many of our peers have. They have leveraged those funds in some other way. It might be significantly more transportation costs, or it might be more out-of-state professional development. There's different ways you can use it. Here, we have really focused on the staff in front of kids every day.
And referendums helped us.
Oh,
Obviously.
absolutely. Yep.
Our community has been very
So generous.
to us with that.
Absolutely.
Can I ask a question, please? I understand in the budget that, this is a running snapshot, but unless something's changed, I don't know. I know we brought it up before, but there's a couple of bargaining agreements that aren't finalized yet, or maybe it has now. So it has? Oh, awesome.
They're
Well, then-
headed out in there, the
Okay, so
custodians.
sorry, then that'll help the budget, obviously, you'll know where you're gonna be at.
Absolutely.
Because I was gonna wonder how you were gonna do that, so, I'm sorry that I missed that. Well, congratulations, that's nice.
Yes,
Yes, it
all
is.
of our employee groups have settled, so. And that's the other thing is we take a snapshot in January of our staff, and that's where we begin our costing for the next year. How much can we afford to provide as increases? So that all comes into it too. It could be a different amount of staff, but it might, be increased because of the increase that we thought we can afford.
I have a question on the dates here on the notice. So it says here that the 20th of October is the hearing, and then it references an October 4th date. Is that the date it's going to be published?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, thank you. I know in previous year that we approved it after it had been published, so I really appreciate the effort bringing this forward. And I also understand that this is the budget, similar numbers to what we saw last meeting. The official numbers because they'll adjust with whatever that third Friday count is, we will see that in a upcoming meeting, correct?
Correct. So this is just a summary of that book and all the detail that you received, putting it into the format that we're required to have it in for publishing to the newspaper, so our public can review it, and it's their notice of the public hearing. And that, these are the numbers that they will look at. And so when you're looking at this, it's always good to look at the ending fund balance in the previous year. And then you add the revenues that you're thinking of and subtract the expenditures. And then that will show you the projected fund balance for the next year. And what you want to keep in mind is you would like to see that as a balanced budget, but that is not the case for this coming year. As I mentioned, that we will be using some of the fund balance that was part of the June 30th that we received in the previous year, and we'll be using in this year. So we'll be reducing our fund balance, but not for ongoing expenditures, one-time expenditures.
And on the October 27th meeting, we'll have an updated version of this that will capture all that we know about Third Friday count, property valuations, all those other minutia that they have not given us yet.
The last question I have is the bottom, the percentage increase of levy, the 9.7. Is that's not the mill rate, that's the total dollar amount? I want to make sure I understand that correctly.
That's the percentage of increase for the dollar amount.
Yep, you're correct.
Okay. Like as you notice, the debt service, that's starting to pay back our new debt. So that was a large impact on the increase.
Other questions? We'd look for a motion to approve this to be published.
So moved.
Motion
I'll second.
by Scott. That's kind of a nice, and seconded by Dr. Garcia. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. We'll then move on to
Thank you.
Operational Expectation Monitoring Report, OE11, Instructional Program.
All right. So this is a part of our typical monitoring process. The school board has set in place the values of the community in OE11, our instructional program. And we presented to the school board a list of indicators that we thought we would be able to provide to demonstrate to the board that we are meeting the values of our community. And so this is our opportunity to present that report, the book report basically, that the school board assigned us for our instructional program. And Carrie wishes she could be here. She is ill today though. And so I am filling in as the presenter with some help from Jeremy Schoonover, our IT supervisor, a little bit later. And so I will get us started. So OE11 is instructional program. It starts by stating the superintendent shall maintain a program of instruction that offers equitable, challenging, and relevant opportunities for all students to achieve at levels defined in the board's results policies. I'm not going to read through each and every one of these. There's a lot of attachments and other things. A lot of this is self-explanatory and just demonstrates that we have done the things that the school board has asked. But I wanted to highlight a handful of things that are either a topical interest or of a little more nuance and depth. All right, so first, I'll kind of cruise through these a little bit. OE 11.1, we list some of our curriculum review cycle and how we make improvements to our processes and our curriculums. OE 11.2 indicates that our standards are reflective of national standards, and they're approved by the school board each year, so it's aligned to that. OE 11.3, we align our curriculum with our standards, and you can see that there's lots of documents you can dive into if you are so interested to see how that happens. 11.4, we measure students' progress. We've had some new opportunities with the new reading law to monitor progress in different ways this year. But you can see with first grade reading iReady scores, or with our forward ELA and math, we use a number of different national, state, and local assessments to track progress. 11.5, instructional program includes opportunities for students to develop their talents and interests in their specialized areas of interest. Here in indicator 1, there's an academic guide that we make available to all students, and it lists all the different courses and options that students have to take. Indicator 2 is our test participation rate, and you can see that listed there. It's at 95%. And then number 3 will provide opportunities for dual enrollment with post-secondary options. And we talked about this the other day in one of our results policies, but it's really incredible what we've been doing in our schools in the last 5-6 years in providing articulated courses with both the university and with Western Technical College. So in that first link, the Redefining Readiness Report, which you've seen before, you know, the number of students that earn dual credit with a university is 90%. So that's incredible. 90% of our students can earn dual credit. Earning transcripted credit, and so that's working with our Western Technical College, 90% of students are also earning transcripted credit. So just incredible opportunities for our students to be getting a college or quasi-college experience before they ever get to the post-secondary level. There's a early college credit and Start College Now summary there as well, and lists the range of opportunities that are available for our students here and the dollar amounts that it takes to make those happen. And these are courses that our students are allowed by law to take at our universities. So it's up to 15 credits in their high school career that they can take at the university directly. And it allows some cost sharing that goes on with that, but it lowers the cost for our students. And I would invite any of our students, have you taken any directly at the universities at all?
I'm currently taking 2. Well, I'm taking 1 this semester and 1 next semester. I'm in Spanish 307, and I'll be taking a 400 level Spanish next year, or next semester. So I know it's 15 credits, but even the 307 class, I've surpassed that already. I get credits for every class that I skipped. It's an amazing opportunity. I'll be walking into college with almost 10 credits to need a minor. It's truly amazing. Yeah.
Once you do your placement test and do well in your first class at college.
I took the placement test my freshman year, and that's what got me into the 307 class.
Good on you.
I was gonna say you would have to do it to take the 307. And that's what you mean by I don't know if they understand the classes you skipped. At the highest level of foreign language you take, it gives you credit for all of the classes you would have had to take.
Correct, yeah.
To get up there, which is really impressive.
Yeah.
Thanks to Northwoods.
And so we have students taking courses at Viterbo, at UWL, and at Western Technical College. And then there's also the transcripted credit list listed there as well. And it identifies the range of courses that you can take with Western, in our schools, with our teachers, and get credit over at Western Technical College. So just a huge range of courses, from construction industry basics to contemporary healthcare practices, to dining room theory, to selling principles, to SolidWorks, early childhood development, just really neat opportunities for kids to get some credits out of the way in a safe environment and try out college.
That is one I have plenty of experience with. I believe I have 6 classes already that I have received credit for through Western, and then I have my accounting classes first and second semester are also for credit. I believe each one counts to 2 or 3 as long as I pass, which means I have 18 to 24 credits through Western, not including any of the other stuff. So it's really nice because other than asking and paying for your college transcript through there, you don't have to pay anything. So I get college credit for just going to my classes and not failing.
See, you're higher.
You're better, yeah.
Yes, that just awesome opportunities for our students there.
Does Polly have that as well?
Yes, we do have it. I know a lot of my fellow classmates are in it. I myself am not, just 'cause of extracurriculars that I'm already busy with, but.
Thank you.
Move on to 11.6. This relates to accommodating different learning preferences. Students are placed in the least restrictive environment. We have a comprehensive English learner service model. And then we have just a variety of alternatives for our students. So Polytechnic is a great example of that. Could you describe a little bit how you learn differently at Polytechnic?
Yeah, it's project-based, so we have a lot of input into what we learn and how we learn it. Just this last year, my junior year, we took a trip to Orlando, and we got to do a physics project based on that, which was really cool. We got to build roller coasters based on what we saw there and applied the physics towards that. And then just our personal projects, get to pick a topic that we are interested in and do a trimester just focused on that topic.
And you do a senior showcase each year?
Yes, seniors, we do a year-long project, and we incorporate community events into that as well. And yeah, it's just really cool.
Yeah, so that's an example of a great way that our district is able to provide those opportunities, but our charter schools and our choice schools also provide a lot of those neat opportunities. All right. OE 11.7, we use a social justice lens and incorporate culture responsive content. And you'll see that information is listed there and how we approach that. 11.8, we modify instructional programs as necessary. So we identify our instructional priorities each year, and those are listed. And then we also make sure to track our students' progress and be responsive to that. We have continuous improvement plans for each of our buildings and review data each year to ensure that those are on track. 11.9, we consider class size, composition, and organization as important components. So we use the Achievement Gap Reduction Program. We receive a few extra funds from the state in order to lower our class sizes at the elementary level. We have a
Former SAGE.
Yes, exactly, the former SAGE program. And we provide a report to the school board each year, twice a year, after the spring and fall semesters for that. They're included in here, an indicator 2 on 11.9 are the Northside Hamilton community school reports, and I've shared those with you before, I think in an email, but just incredible things that our neighborhood schools do to build community and support. I don't think I shared it here, but Hamilton had a family night a couple weeks ago, and over 250 folks from the community showed up to support the school after school. It was just awesome, and I know Northside does the same sorts of things. Something to highlight as an area where we indicate that we are not in compliance is OE 11.9 indicator 3, proportional enrollment. And if you look at that, you will notice that we are tracking the proportionality in our charter schools, Cooley Montessori, Cooley Region Virtual Academy, Polytechnic, SOTA 1 and SOTA 2. And a goal that we've had is ensuring that these schools are accessible to everyone and representative of our school community. And we have never been proportional in these schools, but it's something that we keep our eye on, and we continue to try and think of ways to lower barriers to access. We know that simply filling out an extensive paperwork form can lower the barrier, or can increase barriers to folks if you're struggling with reading as an adult, or if you have if English isn't your first language, any number of ways that can be a barrier. Another one is transportation. We do our best to provide transportation, but even getting to your homeschool boundary and then traveling across town might feel uncomfortable for you if you've grown up in a neighborhood and you want your kids to attend there. And so we know that there's any number of barriers for our families in accessing these schools, and so it's something that we continue to track and monitor, and every year seek ways to mitigate that disproportionality. Happy to take any questions on that, thoughts, ideas.
Well, one thing maybe I should have brought up the last time, but there was a section in here talking about attendance over the last 5 years. And it talked about, I think if I can remember correctly, that attendance in the freshman year is 7 times more important as an indicator than X. And so when I see a situation like that, I try to say, okay, what could the district do differently to improve attendance? Now, I think a problem that we heard in different linkages last year was one on behavior. But if that's really true, attendance is 7 times more important in terms of success. And maybe we should look at somebody that deals with an attendance specialist, just like we deal with disciplinary specialists. Maybe we could look at somebody that's a specialist and come in and suggest things to improve attendance in our district, which then would improve scores for those students that typically miss. It's a possible solution.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're always open to solutions for attendance. We've had a great county attendance committee, truancy committee get together each year and really work through prevention strategies, early intervention, and acute intervention strategies. But you know, we're always trying to find the next thing that will help us move the needle on that. So that's a great suggestion. Anything else on proportional enrollment?
No, I appreciate that you have this indicator, and you continue to work at it. The failure to meet it, in my opinion, isn't a negative thing. I think removing the indicator so you can be completely successful would be a negative indicator.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, it's a goal we have, and we're not there yet, but we continue to focus on it.
I think it's a good goal.
Moving on to 11.10, I would invite up Mr. Jeremy Schoonover to talk about 10 and 11. Oh, no, mostly just 10. So,
Just 10.
Just 10.
I mean, I can do 11, but I haven't.
Yeah, have you
haven't
had
gone all the way to 11 yet.
Have you had a chance to speak to the folks here?
Yes.
You have.
Last
okay.
year, I was able to speak. I don't know if this is working, but yeah, we spoke last year, so familiar faces and some new faces, so it's good to see everybody. I'm dealing with OE 11.10, and we have 2 indicators there. I'm just going to kind of briefly go over those for you. 100% of district-owned computers and devices used within the district network are protected using reliable safety measures. The firewall security and content filter are SIPA compliant. That is evidenced by a letter that is in the packet. We also have our authorized use of school-owned equipment and internet safety and acceptable use policies linked there as well. We do go above and beyond what's stated here, and I think Laura kind of talked to me about maybe we need to change some of these things up. The verbiage is a little old for what we do. So we'll be trying to update that, but that's 11.10.1. I'll get into some other things on that in a little bit. And then 11.10.2 is identified prohibited sites and information attempted to be accessed by students are flagged, and blocked by the district's filters, and that we have evidenced by some alerts and reports that we get from our content filtering system. So there's a couple ways that we keep kids and staff safe on our network, but we kind of go above and beyond that. The OE 11.10.1 talks about being on the school network, but we have devices that leave our school network. And so we don't just provide safety that way, we provide safety off campus as well. And so our filtering and our safety measures also extend off the campus. So it's not just here. This year we also implemented a new email filter. It's called Abnormal AI. It actually takes a look at our emails that are coming in and will detect when someone sends an email to everybody in the district on behalf of Mr. Engel asking for lots of iTunes gift cards. So it has been doing a good job so far, and that's actually one of the biggest vectors of attack right now is just shooting a phishing email out, getting somebody to sign into a site that they think is legit, but it's not really legit, and then we end up, they'd end up transferring money, out of our accounts. So, sure.
I've noticed that happens a lot to our board members where it's like,
We've had a
there's
few.
one, Trevor, I'm sorry, I didn't give you the money there beforehand. But
Yep.
I'm kind of curious if that's been a recent problem since I've noticed it's kind of spiked up a little bit last year. And maybe I might have seen your information from this year kind of block off. I haven't gotten a lot recently from it. But
Yeah, so hopefully you have gotten less of those. That's what this is for. So
Well,
if you
it's
haven't,
working
let
there.
me know. But no, it's been around for a long time. It's just that now with AI, they're able to generate these things more easily and shoot them out. So it's becoming a big, it's whack-a-mole. My job is playing whack-a-mole, basically. Just trying to defend our network from things and new things, and stuff pops up all over the place. So yes, but that is for those, they'll go through and find out all the officials of the district and try to scam people into answering emails or logging into things that they don't need
I
to.
will never ask you in an email for money, even though you've received those.
I may. I got a couple text messages now from Elon Musk in regard to a car that I want.
Oh, nice, okay. Well, I can't block those, but I'll.
But
we
I
can
do
talk
have a
about it.
follow-up question. This is something I'm
Sure.
kind of a little bit quite concerned about. Is I can imagine most of this information that kind of gets leaked out there is just, we're in public. For us board members, you have a website you go to, you find our contact information. For a bot, they can do that themselves.
Mhm.
But you said that teachers are getting some things. Is that still public information? Even worse yet, has there been any cases where students have received any of these phishing emails where some of
I actually haven't heard of many students getting. Have you guys ever gotten a phishing email? Okay. Thank you. All right. I don't know. No, it's staff because the students, their data
Is
is
encrypted
very,
and
but
not.
it's very valuable. But it's only valuable to get through me. So the value that I keep track of, or that we keep track of in data services, personally identifiable information, a lot of that is stuff that we have to keep safe. So hacking a student's email wouldn't really give them that much information, but hacking one of our emails or hacking one of us, phishing one of us, would get them a lot of information, potentially.
Right. And I asked that because I remember some time ago, Black River Falls had an incident where they had a cyber attack, and we
Yes.
were told last time where it's a matter of when, not
Right.
if.
Yeah.
And especially since all these students' information want to save their. So if I'm understanding this right, most of these phishing attempts from these emails are sent through staff because their information is public.
Correct. Well, it's usually your email address is listed on a website. They can go out and scrape the website, find everybody's email addresses, and then add them into into the system. So we're trying to work to not do that anymore. You can still contact people, but we don't need to publish.
As long as it's not getting
email
the
addresses.
students.
Yeah, but it's not hitting students. It's hitting staff. The Black River Falls one was a staff member. It was actually looked like it came from the business director to someone, and they thought, oh, this looks legit. I'll send the ETF information for the district to this person, and it ended up being a big deal. So and that's why partly why I've implemented this is that just if we can just get a few fewer phishing attempts, we just reduce that risk of attack and getting actually hacked through that. So yeah, good questions. Yeah.
This may be a little bit out of kind of the purview of what you're protecting us from, but we've obviously had lots of conversations recently about student use of AI.
Yes.
And so I'm curious, as I was looking at the blocked categories and signatures, like ChatGPT wasn't on there. Is that something that you're monitoring when they're
Yes.
accessing?
Yeah, so AI, like all those AI sites, we have them blocked by a category, an AI category in our filter.
Oh, I didn't think I saw that. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
so those do get blocked, and I could get you a full, okay. But no, we do have those, and so one of the things that we have done, because we need to do that, because ChatGPT is not filtered really, and we have no control over that at all. And so what we did instead was we purchased Magic School, which is an AI platform that allows students to get experience using AI and prompting AI, but in a school-safe environment, where their teachers are able to monitor and help guide as they learn how to use that. So that's one of the things that we've done. Google's come out with the Gemini, which is safe for schools, but we haven't done anything with that yet, so we'll just kind of stick with the ones that are for schools. But yeah, so we do block those just because, again, we can't control what those things say and what they come up with and what rabbit hole they will take you down today. So, yeah. Just a couple more things just to round this out, how we kind of go above and beyond. We have antivirus on all of our machines. We do actually have security tripwires in our network, so if somebody tries to poke around on our network, they will go for this really enticing looking machine that looks like they should be able to hack it, and then we'll get a notification. Sometimes our machines trip up our other machines, and that's good. We know that the system's working. But yeah, that's kind of what I had for safety and cybersecurity that we have in place. We're working really hard. I have lots of very paranoid people on my team, which is what we get paid to be. And so, yeah, so any further questions?
I would just say that I think Jeremy and the IT team does a good job of balancing the need to access information and for things to be convenient with also the safety side of things. Sometimes you can lock things down so much you can't access anything, and it just gets hard to operate. But I think it's always a reasoned judgment to make that call.
Yep, it's a high wire act, and whack-a-mole too.
We carry insurance as well.
Yes. Yeah, and we have insurance. Yeah, we have cyber insurance. We have to fill out a big long form every year of all the safety protocols that we have in place. So, yeah. So hopefully we'll never have to use it, but I'm going to try really hard not to use it.
Well, it's become even more important as this gets more developed with AI and everything, because the opportunity to do destructive things to our network and even at home. I mean, they can literally take your home, right, and start taking, money out of it. But it is more important now than it's ever. It's almost like we need our own police department for IT.
Yeah,
and
the cyber cops.
You'd be our sheriff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, I'll get a badge.
Yeah, we'll get you one.
IT sheriff. All right. Well, before I go, just make sure you thank Dan Lewandowski for all of his hard work and dedication to the district, giving up. He hates this. He hates this so much. But Dan does such a great job, and he's been dedicated for so long. He gives up 2 Mondays a month where he could be spending time with his wife or his dog. So thanks to Dan. And thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we should all give him hugs at the end of this.
Looking very red behind that.
I'll round out the rest of the report. 11:11, we protect instructional time for students as best we can by minimizing disruptions, and well as by monitoring the use of substitutes to use those in the most effective way. And then we periodically review for school attendance boundary changes. We share analysis update on an annual basis in the budget plan. We've got a number of capacity studies that we've shared with the board that'll be in place for a number of years. We are monitoring open enrollment seats that are available and limiting those for our most difficult to staff positions, in this case American Sign Language and deaf of hard of hearing services. We monitor the 45-55 rule, which is the rule that balances our enrollment north and south in our school district to ensure that we are able to offer comprehensive educational programs at both our middle schools and both our high schools. And then lastly, if need be, we present recommendations for new attendance boundaries based on enrollment projections or changes. And while we don't have any listed in here for recommended changes, we will be addressing those this year as we get into the new year for our new buildings and additions. And that is OE11. We are presenting it as in compliance with exceptions noted as a result of the disproportionality at our charter schools. Mr. Mako.
I have 3 things, kind of just questions for all this. This is a big OE. So I first want to turn over to the student representatives for OE11 for indicator 4. And got myself into Central High School to do a tour for a full day back in September. I'm trying to find time to do it in October. But one of the things I'm trying to kind of investigate upon is standard-based grading and how it's performing. Oh, I see a smile.
No.
But one of the things I heard, one of the struggles of standard-based grading was the fact that you couldn't really see your grading or what kind of grades you got. And OE 11.4 kind of talks about Canvas, Skyward, EduClimber, and when I came over there and talked to some of the instructors, that they, had a grading scale that was accessible, and they said that in comparison to the previous years with trying to put in standard-based grading, there's something here a lot about linkages where you don't know what your grade is on the spot. I want to ask you guys if that is still the case right now, since what I heard, and it came in like the first week or two, and I heard that there wasn't really anything to be tested by this. But could you, at this very moment, if you really wanted to, check what your grade was for a certain assignment?
For a certain assignment, no, not necessarily, but for an overall grade, yes. It's changed a lot this year than it was last year. Last year was a lot more difficult. I remember emailing a lot of my teachers several times before the quarter came. But this year, there's more numbers. It's less of a advanced proficient, not yet. It's 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's a little bit easier. I know it's still not popular, one among staff and students, but I also will say I'm not a fan of it for that sense, but more in the sense that it's a lot easier to get by in classes now. Like, I don't find myself studying as hard because I know that it's a lot more lenient now. It's a lot easier to get A's than it was before. I mean, that's my take on it.
Can I interject that that's not what this discussion is not what this monitoring report is about.
Right.
And I know this is kind of your axe to grind, but it's already 8 o'clock and we have
that's,
further items
that's
to
not
go
my,
through.
I'm asking this because it's in Indicator 4. I requested a workshop specifically on standard-based grading and kind of focusing on see if it was accessible. That's one of the biggest things I heard about this year and saying that we have data maintain that. That's something we didn't have in the past. So particularly just when it comes to being able to access your grade, you can see what a grade is. You can use these software themselves. There's something that is there as opposed to last year's where there was not something there. You had to.
Yeah, last year there was nothing.
Because I'm looking at the data here and all I see is kind of talking about the benefits of all these here, but that doesn't exactly say what you see inside the schools and the students. That's why I wanted to ask you there too. It's because I don't think we had the evidence here and that's why I was curious for that, which is my intention not to grind on standard-based grading for this is a specific issue that's being monitored here and I didn't see any evidence to support that and I want to ask directly over there.
Yeah, I know the staff are working hard, especially at the beginning of the school year, to kind of push out what they're looking for each class. So even if you're not necessarily seeing a number, you're definitely getting an idea at the very beginning
And that's
in the
what this
syllabus,
indicates, right?
of what
Right.
they're expecting from you and what each number, what each proficient advanced, not yet, what that will equate to in the end.
Good.
So I think, Mr. Mank, if I might jump in, first of all, we have a workshop on this October 27th, so we'll get more into details on this. I also had a question on OE11-4, and it wasn't about, this is our only policy that addresses grading, is that correct? I looked quickly.
Yes, this is the policy that addresses assessment and all that encompasses.
To be honest with you, I believe that the way everything's written, you are in compliance. I think what we as a board might want to discuss on the 27th, at least consider, is this policy, is what we're saying we want from the staff and then their subsequent indicators getting us to where we want? And I think the question, and we've talked in general terms in the past, is an assessment, effective measure each student's progress toward achieving and exceeding standards using quantitative, qualitative measures and methods to assess each student's continuous improvement. I believe the staff are doing that with standard-based grading. I also have heard that not everybody loves standard-based grading, and we'll get into that on the 27th. I think what we as a board might want to say, because our policies are supposed to reflect our values in the community, if we're hearing from students and parents and staff that perhaps we want to add language about that it would be then information be shared with students in a way and parents in a way that is easily understandable or something. I'm just throwing an idea out there. I personally, I think the issue isn't with what's been measured. I think it's our policy. And I think we have some work to do, and I think that's on us as a board. That's just how I'm reading it. And that was, actually, I had a question here about the number 4 as well, Mr. Manka. So I don't want to take away your question. That's just my read on it, but I think it is a good issue, and I think we're going to have a good discussion on the 27th.
Right.
And is there anything you want to add? Because you seem to have a lot, some concerns here.
My questions center around process a little bit, and I am looking also forward to the workshop discussion around this, and I'm trying to make sure that I understand what your criticism of the policy issue is, because as I see this is our policy that directs the superintendent and the district to have an effective assessment system, right? No board of education that will reasonably be elected by any locality will be experts in assessment. That's why the meat and potatoes of assessment and what the district does on a day-to-day basis is an administrative issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I firmly believe it should remain that way.
I agree with you. My thought was, I couldn't pick out a grading system to save my soul, but I think if we're gonna say values, then we need a grading system that's, and again, we've received feedback, and we also, in all fairness, the administration has done a lot of work this last year to improve it, so I don't wanna take away from that, and that's why I think on the 27th, I think we'll have a good discussion. But my comment about the policies is the policy represent the community's values, and if we want a grading system that's easily understandable by students, staff, and parents, because that was one of the concerns I'd heard, was that students didn't know where their grade was, parents didn't know where their grade was. And maybe the system, that's why I'm saying maybe all along in this, because when we hear what changes have occurred, that might be taken care of. But I think Mr. Manka's concern is there are concerns, that he's heard concerns from individuals about the current grading system, and so are we in compliance with OE4? I think we are in compliance with OE4 the way it's currently written. If we as a board want to make changes on that, I would encourage us to discuss that after the 27th of October, because we may be enlightened in a way that everything's perfectly fine. But I feel the superintendent and the administration has done what we've asked them to do, the way it's currently written, but I'm not sure that aligns perfectly with the concerns we're hearing from the public. And it's not to say that we would pick out a grading system, but we could say we'd want a grading system that produces X, Y, or Z in very general terms. Owen?
I will say that at least at Central, there has been a universal policy on what constitutes what grade. So moving back to numbers, 4, 3, 2, and 1 allows us to have, I believe it's 2.8 is an A, which makes it so that if students are willing to put in a little bit of work to figure out kind of what their mean grade is, they're able to determine, okay, I should be roughly about here. But then, as far as I'm aware, most, if not all, of the staff have been told that if they feel that that number does not reflect a student's recent growth, that they're able to alter that. So if they started the year really struggling with a concept, but then made incredible growth, but it still only put them at like a 2.7, they have the room to say, okay, I understand that this number is not where it should be, but that's because, like, that's not due to you not trying to learn and putting in that effort, and so they're able to make change like that. I feel as though it is very easy to tell kind of where you stand now with that universal policy, and if the concern is that students and parents don't know what their grade is, I feel it's that either that standard, like the scale has not been properly communicated, or that the parents are not trying to stay involved or actively checking on their student.
And that was a past concern. I haven't heard anything this year. Jim, you had something else.
Well, I just really believe that we were stuck on one grading system for so long that somehow we have to nudge that forward. I can say, as a math teacher for a lot of years, even the 3 people lined up down the hall from me would give different Algebra 1 tests on the first chapter. The complexity of the questions, the percentage that you'd give to the person, they all differed. So there was no consistency from teacher to teacher, building to building, where now it's trying to say, hey, listen, in order to get the best grade in this class, these are the 4 things you have to know, and this is how you know them by using a rubric and so on. So there's much more a definitive reason why you get the grade and even what you have to study. One of my arguments might have been, you have to know how to graph a linear equation. And if you can't do that, it's not yet. Before this, you might have got it halfway, so you get 60%. What's 60% mean? Well, we average that with 100%, and you get 80%, so that's a B, even though you never learned how to graph a line.
Mr. Manka.
I also had 2 written questions. Only one of them was kind of related to my own study. This is like the one time you can talk about this. Again, I'm asking these questions to take a look at the evidence because the evidence is kind of hard to read when there's not really that much. So my next question was on indicator, or OE 11.3 indicator 2. That's something I've also heard a lot, not just when talking about this issue kind of in general or standard-based grading, but overall when I'm talking to staff inside the schools are, what exactly constitutes a committee? Who's involved with it? Are there some teachers who are not involved with it that perhaps should be, since I've heard there's been some kind of disconnect sometimes in these committees here. And for the sake of the language, 100% curricula is collaborated, developed through curriculum committees. Define the committee for me here, since through the, it's right there. It's there. I'm just seeing through who's leading it or what's part of it. I'm curious to see where that kind of disconnect could possibly be from.
Yeah, so it's not in this report, but there's is it OE 8 or 9 communicating with and support of the community or something, and there's probably a 13-page document that lists all the committees that we have in the district and the ways that we involve staff and community members in order to ensure that we're hearing voices, from our community to make decisions. As it relates to curriculum, a change that we've made since I've been in the school district is historically content coordinators, folks that were in charge of math curriculum or science curriculum, were administrators in the school district. Mr. Bagneski was probably a math coordinator at one point. And science. And that was a great strategy, and our administrators were very good at ensuring that those programs were investigated and deployed well, that the curriculum was reviewed in a timely way. And in Mr. Bagneski's case, he was a subject matter expert. He had taught math. Over time, though, we found that we couldn't always find subject matter experts in those areas, and as our budgets reduced, we couldn't have jobs that allowed people to do that full time. It became like an elementary principal who would also be the math coordinator, high school principal who would also be the Phi Ed coordinator, and it maybe not an area of expertise, but an extra job that they had to make them full time. In the last 3-4 years, we've transitioned to teachers as content coordinators. And so on that list there, the Teaching and Learning Committee, those are all teaching staff in our school district who are certified to teach in those areas and passionate about it. Melissa Norman just rewrote our Phi Ed curriculum with a group of teachers in collaboration with UWL. So really passionate about it personally, engaged in the work right now, and interested in making those changes herself. I was a science teacher. I could probably weigh in a little bit there, but not to the extent that our existing science teachers can right now. And so that's why we rely on that committee to help develop curriculum, because they're the subject matter experts in our school district. They're the most passionate about it. They're the closest to the work.
Dr. Garcia?
Didn't we hear from the math committee when they were piloting different math programs? They came and gave a presentation about how they chose the different curriculums that they were trying out when they were updating. And those were teachers, they're volunteers, right?
Mhm.
They volunteered to be part of the committee.
Yeah, and we seek additional, like if there's a curriculum that we're gonna pick, we seek teacher input for that. So for math in particular, at the elementary level, we transitioned probably 4 years ago now. The teachers had a vendor fair. They looked at all the different curricula. They were all presented that stuff. The teachers identified their top 3. They whittled it down to 2 that they wanted to pilot. And then teachers piloted that material, and then based on their feedback, that's what we ended up selecting. So it's super organic. It involves the teachers at the ground level. You know, the extent to which administration gets involved is just to facilitate the work, to make sure that it's not teachers doing the logistics and taking the minutes and finding the materials and coordinating the vendors. We do our best to make that happen for them. They're the voice in the process. And it's tough sometimes for our content coordinators to find the time and the energy to be able to do this on top of teaching all day. But the benefit has been, I think, apparent in our selection process and how teachers feel about curriculum.
You had one more?
One more. And this one again is on OE 11.11. Indicator 1, disruptions to academic day will be discouraged. This is a minor tidbit where it's kind of focusing on where it's compliant, but something to be better upon is the student codes of right responsibilities. I know you guys have a committee for that there. One of the biggest issues I have had, and I've actually voiced this to you in private a couple of times too, is the fact that we are the only school district in our area that doesn't have like a 3-point, or doesn't have exactly a coherent drug enforcement policy. Other school districts across our area, when I've checked through their code of rights responsibilities, have something along the lines of, if you're caught using a substance once, it has a standardized kind of approach for it. And the thing I get back from you on the end is you don't want to be punishing, or it's to not necessarily get ticketing anything too. But one of the things I've seen, and I've asked about this a couple of occasions as well, is that the fact I think we have a disproportionate amount of, let's say, like disciplinary things where it kind of allows the idea to fester there. And I would say that would be a disruption to the academic day. We have something where it's kind of best of what comes the administration do. So can we do something to better that and actually to incorporate, because everyone else is doing around it too, and I even asked teachers across the area how they do it, and I think they have a better way of doing it, is what say, or next time we do have something for our student code of rights responsibilities, to have that kind of 3-strike system, at least have something that's standardized when it comes to drug enforcement.
Yeah, I as having been a teacher and a principal, I've seen all the different types of disciplinary continuums that you can develop. And I've gone down the path of if this, then that, very, very defined. Like if you are tardy, you will have a detention. If you are caught, with drugs on your person in your school, you will be expelled. And without any accommodation for the circumstances of that student or the situation itself. I've done that before, and it's always failed in every school district I've been in. In my experience, and in the experience of most of my staff, you need some flexibility to adapt to the personal circumstances of that student, the context of the issue that you catch the student in. That has always worked better where I've been. We do have a continuum, a matrix that we refer to for our more severe things, to identify what should be school-based discipline, what should be an out-of-school suspension, what should be a disciplinary referral, what should be pre-expulsion, and what we would refer for expulsion. And we've had one expulsion here since I've been here, and I think it was very warranted. But we do our best to find ways to educate all of our students, because regardless of whether or not they're in our school buildings every day, they will be in our community. As it relates to drug offenses, we're fortunate to have seen pretty significant decline in those in the last 5 years. It relates to lots of different things, and most of it, frankly, to forces outside of our control. The norms have been changing over the last 5 years since the pandemic as well, and that's been the largest cause for those change. We'd like to point to something we've done, but that's been a large part of it. I think it was 2 years ago, we went out to our community in the Student Code of Rights and Responsibilities process and specifically asked about AODA issues, because we were hearing from our students, we were hearing from our parents that these were issues that needed to be addressed. And so we rewrote our guidance around AODA issues and then increased our supports for students in that process. And so if a student was caught at school with a vape and they indicated that they wanted to work on avoiding this in the future, we have specific methods for our counseling. SBIRT is the acronym, I don't know what it stands for. And also some counseling at the local drug treatment center. And we use that for the same with other types of drugs as well. It's primarily marijuana that we deal with in schools, not much else. And so we've been fortunate to really listen to our community, our parents, our teachers, our students, and refine our guidance in our code of responsibilities as a result. The development process we have for our student code, I think, is a model nationally, because we're listening to the community and it's reflective of the values. Just like the school board's policies are reflective of the values, so is our student code of rights and responsibilities. How we approach discipline for truancy, for drugs, for dress code violations, for all those things, it comes from our community. And so I definitely understand like frustration. We just wish the stuff would go away, or that these kids would stop doing things. But our schools are a reflection of our community, and as long as there's drug use in our community, there will be drug use in our schools, and we have to mitigate it to the best of our abilities and ensure that those kids still have an opportunity to learn and can repair whatever harm or fix whatever mistakes they made and get back on the right track, because they'll be here in our community for the foreseeable future. But happy to take notes and think about how to do it differently as we move into the future.
Try to follow up on that another time.
Mr. Mink, I appreciate your concerns and questions. I've heard some of those as well. I guess I would, as I reflect on it, I guess my first question to the board is more rhetorical. I can't say specifically, but is our policy written in such a way that it's getting us to where we want to be? And if it's not, then that's probably a better, it's a different discussion that we should have. And I want to make sure, because I think that's separate from monitoring, which is what we're supposed to be doing right now in this agenda item, is monitoring the performance according to the currently written policy. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's our bylaws, our policies allow us to change them as we need to, and as communities grow and change and different things come up and happen, that we should be reflecting on what our policies say and make sure they represent what our community wants. So I think that's maybe more to your question than perhaps the monitoring, at least from my perspective, I'll just say that.
And I'm happy to look into AODA trends and share those with the board in upcoming communication.
I'd like that. And share that with the students as well.
Of course.
Thank you. Any other questions on OE 11?
I yield the floor.
Sorry. We kind of piled on you, Adam, sorry.
I mean, we only talk about this once a year. It seems, well, going back to our own time, it's important either way.
And as far as the discussion on the grading system, the reason it's set up for the 27th is it's at the end of the first quarter of this year, so we can kind of see what the changes that have occurred, how has that made things better or not, and I think that's a more meaningful discussion than to rehash what hasn't worked in the past, so. Okay, losing track here where I'm supposed to be. So unless there's no other questions, we would be looking for a motion to approve with exceptions noted as presented by the superintendent.
I'll make a motion that in regard to the monitoring report for policy OE11 instructional program and with respect to the provisions of policy BSR 5 superintendent accountability, the Board of Education concludes that the superintendent and district are in compliance with exceptions noted.
Second.
You got one. Ms. Fuchs got the second, thank you. and a motion by Dr. Sprague. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. We'll then move on to approval of linkage groups. Getting to, did I miss something?
No, just one thing. These are kind of small things. I'm kind of curious if we can possibly make a motion, just put this all into one big thing, unless there's any questions, any of them in particular, just for sake of time.
Oh, for the items 705 through
704 to 709.
We could address them as a package. but-
So whoever makes a motion could make a motion to combine them all, if you're okay. 704 just starts out with a big picture, and then if somebody wants to make a motion to approve them all, they could do that. Mr. Bagneski?
Well, my concern with that is they all kind of say the same thing, except they're in a different order in many cases. I like the two that specifically start with a positive comment. Like I'm looking at the one for the district-wide parents. It says, when it comes to educating children, what do you see the La Crosse School District doing well? Sometimes the other questions come first, is they're on a negative tint. You know, what could we improve upon? So I don't know. I'd like to start it off on a positive and go down the line from there. And
I agree, yeah. I mean, if you've been at the linkages, you know, the whole conversation can get really taken up with that. And my suggestion was gonna be that we adopt, I'm looking at the linkage questions for the cultural community partners. I think it's the same ones that you were just referencing.
Yep.
That we adopt those 4 questions for all of the linkage groups, except maybe the students. That's maybe not as the most, I like largely the way the student ones were written as slightly different, and there's a different perspective that we're inviting. But I think the phrasings of those questions are just a little more productive, while still opening up that space for people to highlight a challenge or an issue. So,
yes.
yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't even keep, like, the barriers is fine, but just like start off with a positive instead of, because everybody's kind of geared up when they go into those linkages anyways, so let's talk about something positive instead of.
That's a tone, yeah.
I like it.
The other question that's on here, besides the questions, are the linkage groups. Do we still want to do these groups, and are there any other groups that we want to talk to?
Well, the one I thought of, as far as sometimes we talk to our own crowd. We talk to the parents, we talk to students, and maybe a diverse group might be, could we start talking to some neighborhood groups? Every once in a while, I know the Bluffside Neighborhood Association is meeting tonight. We usually get a pretty good turnout, but there's 9 other district or neighborhood committees that, matter of fact, we have some joint meetings sometime. We just had a joint meeting between Bluffside Neighborhood and Jenna, and so we meet sometimes together so city employees can come out and can talk to us about what the city is planning, et cetera. So I might add to that city neighborhood.
So do you want to have like representatives from each of the neighborhoods, or we just put all the names in the hat and pick one, or how would you recommend we do that?
I think there's Jenna is her name in city planning. I think I could communicate with her and say, okay, how could we set this up? Right now, they're going through presenting zoning changes in the city, and you're reading through codes, and you're saying, should we change this? We have too many areas zoned strictly single-family housing. How could we change that? What would that mean? And so they're going through that right now. So I could ask Jenna to help out trying to get neighborhood groups to answer these questions.
Mr. Newmeister, sorry.
Well, would it be beneficial as well, not us talking with just teachers and stuff, but other staff members? You know, the people inside the schools, facilities, the food props, everyone that, you know, that isn't part of the actual teacher group.
But they're already open to those.
Pardon me?
The school ones are open to all staff. It's just
I know,
always a
but I
question of
don't
who
think,
attends.
I'm not sure, I agree, but I'm not sure they feel comfortable about.
Maybe so.
You know, so if we just had a separate one for them, maybe they'd feel a little more comfortable, you know, attending it and speaking up. Or, you know, or that we're doing excellent. You know, let's face it, no matter what we do, there's gonna be a couple hurdles we need to look at, but I think it's important to make sure that we try to at least keep them in the loop and hear from them. And I do agree that we have the all staff, but I just feel maybe that they don't feel as comfortable speaking up in that kind of setting.
It could very well be, Scott.
Yes, go ahead.
I feel like, I really like the bottom two ideas on like potential groups, the business community and local education institutions. Especially, like one of the questions raised is the balance between internal and external stakeholders resulting in well-roundedness. I feel like there is a solid amount of skew, kind of, as we were saying earlier, to those who are already involved. So parents and families, students, staff members, I feel like external involvement might be good to balance it out, and then especially for business and like local universities, because those are what we're ideally preparing our students for, getting their input on what they think we're doing well, or what they're seeing, especially if a lot of our students go to school nearby, as we talked earlier, how we have a high rate of UWL and Viterbo students, seeing if they're noticing anything trend-wise on what students are lacking or what they seem to excel with.
Very good point.
So before we approve the questions, I think we should pin down the groups, if you're okay with that, if everybody's okay with that. So, looking at the linkage summary that we have on this agenda item, there's year 1, 2, 3 of which school we go to. Which year are we in? 2?
Laura would have that answer. I don't know if anyone remembers who they talked to last year in a linkage.
Thought we went to state.
Pulling it up, I believe, yes, we are in 2 this
Okay.
year.
Okay, I just want to be clear on
We
that.
did one last year.
Also, on the staffing, I thought we did a linkage with the LEA last year, didn't we?
We did. Tim and I went, yeah.
Yeah, and they're not listed on here, I didn't see that.
I can get that added.
Okay, are there other employee groups that we would want to meet with separately? We've also, Laura, tell me if I'm wrong, for some reason, like we've picked certain, like we have the schedule, year 1, 2, 3, so we get to each of the buildings. But then we also have like an elementary school linkage and a middle school linkage and a high school linkage or something like that. Do we still do that?
That would also be a great thing for you all to consider, if that would seem beneficial or not. That was kind of a trial run the last 2 years.
We did that in part, at least for the elementary, because we only get in that particular year to a few of the elementary schools. And if staff from elementary schools wanted to meet with us, that was an opportunity to do that. Yeah, go ahead.
I have an idea related to the rotation. Just because as we're talking about adding additional meetings, and I think we're walking a line between expanding our access so much and creating a lot of additional work when sometimes it's already tough to get enough board members at one of these.
Disagree.
And so I want to be sensitive to that. And the fact that our meetings are already public. We've already had Scott and Tim participating with the city. Like, we have other methods beyond just the linkages in which we do connect. And so expanding these as the sole method of connecting, I don't think is necessarily the way to go. But in terms of meeting with all of the elementary schools, all of the middle schools, could we look at the year 1, 2, 3 rotation more as simply the location, but keep those open and invite, and really actively invite staff from all the buildings, just knowing that we are physically moving around, because the board doesn't always get a chance to go to all the buildings, and it's nice to have an evening or late afternoon in one of those locations, but to make sure that it's an opportunity that staff, from Northwoods can come down to Southern Bluffs and vice versa, and things like that.
I agree with that.
I love that.
So am I hearing consensus about not having an elementary linkage, but inviting other?
Kind of making them all, anytime it's an elementary linkage, it's.
I just want to make sure I'm
open.
understanding.
Yeah.
Like an omni linkage.
Maybe not just one, but maybe 2 or
Okay.
3, though. I mean, I don't think you can expect every elementary school to come to Spence or Hinchin or whatever. But if you had a north side and south side location or something where people easily transition between schools, might work.
So looking at this document, we've got the year, so we're year 2, we've got the district-wide parents, we've got the high school students. We have LEA. I'm just gonna keep going through. One question I have is, do we have any other employee groups we want to single out to meet with? We would then also meet with a community cultural group, youth serving organizations, and then, is this the year to do this?
Be next year.
So not this in January, it would be the
following January.
Okay. And then the question is, at the bottom, would we want to add other groups as well? And I'm hearing maybe, maybe not. So what's the pleasure of the board?
I think he brings up a very good point. We're all, this isn't our only job, right? And as much as I would like to talk to everyone, and if we did decide to do that, maybe we rotate year after year on something like that where, you know, next year we focus on neighborhood groups and the year after we focus on something else if we were to add one. I think that might be an option.
Another thought might be on the rotation, since we're already looking at roughly, you know, six per year in the rotation. If we take the 2 middle schools, the 2 high schools, and we do a linkage at each, or even in those cases, 2 linkages at each site, right? But again, opening it up, making it a really active invite to the whole high school staff, the whole middle school staff, and then rotating through some subset of the elementary schools in one year, and then the next year going to the other elementary schools. But again, opening up the invite and encouraging faculty and staff to meet us wherever we're able to hold these. Right, does that make sense what I'm suggesting?
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been to them where there's 2 people. So, you know, if we can combine them, and it makes total sense.
Mr. Bagneski?
Well, and my only point was, there was a conversation last year that all we did was we talked to school people. We never talked to people outside of the school area, and so we were suggesting ways of getting in contact with parent groups or citizen groups. And that's why through the neighborhood situation out there, that we got to see some people that were consumers of our product.
I will add that this last year, not to talk about the linkage questions, but to get information, the questions were similar to the linkage questions for the visioning group. You met with 20-some groups, you and Stacy and other staff went out to, and so we've gotten input from a variety of groups just recently that really was driving our vision that we are going to have a workshop on next meeting to talk more about. But so I want to throw that out there, that we have recently talked with those groups. Do we want to add neighborhood groups into our rotation this year? If we can find a way to have one meeting to.
I think that's a really good idea. As I was talking to people in the community, like during the election process, a lot of people are like, well, you know, I don't have kids in school, so why should I really care? So maybe we need to reach out to those people so they have a reason to be involved.
So we will have, if I'm hearing consensus around the table, then in addition to this, the ones that are listed, plus the LEA, the external audits would add a neighborhood group, and that can be, I'll let you as administration work with city planning and figure out how we can do it in one meeting. Is that clear to everybody? Is everybody agreeable with that?
Are we gonna meet with all neighborhood groups then? Because we're just gonna have one.
I think one meeting that.
Yeah.
One meeting.
Jenna can set that up.
One
Jenna
meeting.
can set it up, but you're gonna have to have it at a spot where it's conducive to everyone being able to go. Otherwise, we're gonna create the same problem.
The nature center is where I met with different groups. It's a good area.
That's a good
Point well taken.
kind of
South
right
side
in the
neigh-
middle.
Otherwise, we could get the south side or north side
Okay.
neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So now that we have our groups, any other recommendations on the groups? Okay. The questions, we want to keep the similar questions, but we just want to change the order to start out with positive. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, a couple of them were actually substantively different as well. So if I would push for adopting the language used in, as an example, the cultural community partners linkage as the standard. And if we want to consider changes for the high school students specifically, I think that's a population we could ask differently pointed questions, so.
So I would look for a motion to approve the linkage groups that we just identified and the questions from the cultural group for the linkage questions, with the exception of the students, and we would use the questions we've used in the past for the students. And starting with something positive. Am I hearing that?
So I'll make a motion to approve the linkage groups with the additions and amendments discussed, as well as agenda items, the linkage questions, and agenda items 7.06, 7.07, 7.08, and 7.09, leaving out 7.05 for a separate action.
Okay. Is there a second to that
Second.
motion? We have a second? Oh, we're getting different voices for seconds
Wow.
and motions here tonight. I'm loving this.
Gotta be quick.
Laura, that was Mr. Alberts that did the second. Any further discussion on the motion to approve 704 is amended, and then 706, 707, 708, and 709? Is that correct?
Also with the amendment to adopt the example of the questions from the community youth support groups.
Thank you.
As the standard, so.
That's the motion and the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Now we just need to consider 705.
Since I singled it out, I guess I would start. I think the framing of the discussion, the way we talked about beginning with a positive is a good one as well. Asking what makes you proud to be a student here is good. Maybe asking what you think can be done to help students more. Like I said earlier, I think largely the questions are good. It may just be reordering them in this case again. I don't know if other people feel differently. So.
I agree.
Students,
think-
what do you think of these questions when we go to your schools? Do you see?
I actually really like the questions. I think reordering them would be a great idea. Just starting with like those positive ones, like you guys said, starting with what makes you proud, and then I think 3, and then probably 1 and 4.
Yeah, I really like having 4 in there. The ability to kind of say anything that's been on your mind to the board is something that I think is really important. The only minor thing that I would say is like having some sort of example of like what to bring up. Because for a lot of people it's, well, that's not really a big enough deal for me to want to address. So, or they're like, it's probably not worth the effort or something like that. Because already I haven't been able to attend any of the linkages, but have they been large groups of students typically?
Central.
Logan, we had a very
The
specific.
last couple of years,
when we went,
Logan's
yeah.
been large. Central was large last year. The year before, not.
Not so much.
But last year, unfortunately with Central, we had, whatever day we picked was a day that, I don't know, it was like picture day or something. Everybody had to run out.
Yes.
But we had a really nice group. We had a nice diverse group there. We had, students that were really, we, again, don't want to beat a dead horse, but we're talking about the grading, and it was students that were really achieving and doing well. There were students that were struggling. Then we talked about the bathrooms, and so we had a great discussion with the students. So yeah, we've had pretty good turnout. But part of it is we've asked you all to encourage your fellow students to come and talk to us and tell your fellow students why it's important to come talk with us. Yeah.
Am I remembering correctly that the really big one that we were at together at Logan, there was like a specific group of students that were either invited or encouraged. I forget if Wally had done that or if it was a class or something.
I don't know, we had.
But it was a full room.
The
I mean, and
last
it was
two I've
great,
gone to
and it
at-
was
at Logan.
such a good discussion.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's specifically with the high school students, because we have a little bit more of a captive audience, if we could lean on the principal or teachers to really encourage or even incentivize.
Everyone came to the Polytech one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they were
okay.
like,
Yeah.
now we're
Yeah.
all going.
All right, good.
That was a
Yeah.
good one. I like that one.
And those were great discussions.
Yeah. I can
Yes,
remember that
thank you,
one, so.
thank you. It's a good point.
So, yeah, but just was thinking about that.
So do we have a motion for 705?
So we want to go like 2, 3, 1, 4? Okay. I'll make a motion to approve.
They're all nodding over there, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2025-2026 linkage questions for high school students with the amended order of 2, 3, 1, 4.
I'll second.
Okay, we have motion by Dr. Sprague, seconded by Ms. Fuchs. Do you need anything else from us, Laura? You know what the motion is?
I got it. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Just want to make sure.
Real specific,
Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much. We will then move on to 7.10, policy approval, first reading, governance culture, or GC4, officer roles. And there's a slight change to the description of the board president on number 8. And it says, board meeting shall include an agenda planning item. Simple. We talked about it at the last workshop. I don't know if there's any other thoughts or questions.
May I just make the motion to grant the first reading approval for governance culture GC-4 officers row?
Thank you. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Manka and Dr. Sprague, thank you. Any further discussion? I know that Laura and Dr. Engel had kind of looked through the policies and felt this was the best place to put that in. And quite frankly, state, as we talked about in the workshop, the state statute allows the board president to set the agenda, but this, putting this piece under the board president's duties, I think is important because that shows that that is the minor change to their role, that does allow the board to provide input on other agenda items. So I think that's the right place to put it. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion for the first reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. We then move on to first reading for board member salary. The salary was changed a couple years ago, which included some annual adjustments. The proposal that's in front of you now is to set it at what the current rate is and just leave it at that and not have annual increases, and as we discussed in the workshop.
I move to approve.
Second?
Second.
May I ask a question here?
So first, a motion by Mr. Newmeister, seconded by Mr. Bagneski. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I believe we talked about in our workshop there, the question I kind of brought up was, is this proportional what we're giving the teachers for raises as well too? I just want to clarify that, make sure I'm not.
That would be dropped.
That's what's being removed. This is just gonna be it going forward. No increase unless the board specifically takes action to do so.
Gotcha.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
I mean, as a struggling young student, I'm sure that's disappointing to you.
No, it feels weird, I guess, being in the position here, just saying, well, we're just gonna give ourselves a raise. It doesn't make me feel comfortable.
And we aren't giving ourselves a raise, we're actually freezing it at what it currently is based on the current policy. And what we're saying is it doesn't increase in the future and removes the language in the policy that gives us annual raises.
Right, and that's just want to kind of clarify there.
Yeah, thank you. Any further questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. These items will then be on the next agenda under consent agenda, which the board can pull off if they so choose. Okay, moving on, 801, communications from the student representatives to the board.
Nothing? Okay.
Do we want to do?
You had some good fundraisers.
Okay, well, the Battle for the Cause game went really well. We initially raised around $5,000 solely on T-shirts from both schools. The last I checked for the digital money that was raised, I checked last week, maybe a week and a half ago, we were over $10,000, so that went really, really well. I'm really happy that it's going to a good place. It's helping a lot of families, helping a lot of research, so that's makes my heart happy. A lot of students are happy to have Friday off, that's for sure. Oktoberfest weekend. The ARC game did not fall in Logan's favor. We were winning, let me tell you guys. We were until the last minute and 53 seconds.
2-minute drill, baby.
Yeah, and then, well, he can tell you.
Yeah, no, it was a great game. I have no bias at all, I promise. No, it was a very hard-fought game from both sides. I mean, for almost 2 quarters straight, time-wise, there were no scores. Not gonna lie, I was a little worried there for a minute, but we pulled through in the end. Very, very glad. But no, it was a good game, and I'm glad that I was able to be there and be as involved as I was.
The arc was stolen.
It went home. Calm down.
Go Central.
You had it for 1 year.
It should have stayed there.
So any other updates from your school?
In the classroom.
Trying to confuse this here.
Why can't you kids just get along?
There has been a little bit of talk, nothing serious, about a spring fundraiser between Senate and a handful of organizations. Nothing set in stone, discussions still had to be made, but representatives from our school's FBLA chapter went and spoke with the Senate, and we are trying to get some details finalized, and as that continues on, I'll be sure to share the details to try to do as much good as we can.
Can I ask a question? Are you still collecting donations? Because I know that, like, some of us didn't get to order the shirts and stuff for the cause. Are you still collecting them to this?
I think there is like a QR code. But all of the proceeds are going to Alex's lemonade stand, and I think the QR code it's through there. So I can get that for you guys.
Thank you.
Beth, any no updates this time? Okay.
Not at the moment.
All right, then we'll move. We'll move to announcements. Dr. Garcia, Lacrosse Public Education Foundation.
We're quiet, LPEF. Finished coming off the Bow Tie Classic that was really successful and getting ready for Golden Apple Gala, planning in the spring and stuff for that. So that's all that's going on with us.
Thank you.
Although, Owen, did I see that you're a National Merit semifinalist? That feels like something worthy of an announcement.
I mean, yes. One of my best friends is also a semifinalist, Santi Toribio. He is one of the smartest people I know. He's insane. He was in the math that I'm in now, and I'm ahead. Like, I'm in AP Stats. He was in AP Stats 2 years ago. It's actually concerning. I don't know how he does it. He showed me last year in AP Physics the kind of work he was doing. For once, I was really glad I didn't know what was going on, because I watched him furiously scribble down notes, and it would.
Well, that was a very humble deflection, but congratulations.
Yeah.
Yes. Congratulations to both of you. It's a accomplishment.
Thank
So.
you.
For my announcements as president, you can see on the calendar that, now I have to do math in my head. Friday, is it Friday? Yes, no, whatever. Yeah, Friday. National Teacher Assistance Day. So we're giving them the day off, apparently, is what I'm hearing. So that's what he's out. But the teacher assistants do a lot in our district. We hear a lot from our teaching staff, how much they wanted more teacher assistants, so I think says a lot. October is National Bullying Prevention Month. The first week, or October 5th through 11th, is Fire Prevention Week. But more importantly, it's also Wisconsin School Board Week, so we can all pat ourselves on the back. The other two announcements I have is if you're going to the regional WASB training, if you haven't already, please tell Laura. She's got to get that taken care of. And my last point I want to make is I was asked to have a moment of silence regarding a recent national tragedy. A victim lost their life. I chose not to do that. I didn't want to make it awkward for anybody at the board who may or may not be comfortable with that. I also didn't want to make it reflect poorly on the victim. But what I do want to say is that the conversation and the positive thing that's come out of it is we keep hearing about we need to be able to talk to people with different ideas and hear each other respectfully and share our thoughts. And as I thought about that, I am so proud to be at this table with all of you because I really feel we do that here and we do that well. We don't always agree, but we respectfully listen to each other. We give each other space to have, to express our concerns, and come together and really focus again at the end of the day on what's best for kids. And in the world of where there's a lot of one side or the other, I'm really proud of this body that we stand together, and I'm really proud to be at this table with all of you. So I just wanted to be able to say that. Dr. Engel.
Thank you.
Torchlight parade on Thursday. Our kids will be marching in that parade. And then the same for the Oktoberfest parade. So check those out. We don't have school on Friday, and next week is teacher conferences. So make sure you sign up for those and attend to see how your kids are doing. The only other thing I would mention, much like Dr. Garcia mentioned, the awesome post of Owen Skiles and Santi Toribio. We also had a post that broke a lot of internal records for us. We had amazing photos and a video of the Hmong New Year Parade at Northside Elementary. 152,000 views and 6,500 reactions. It was picked up nationally on a lot of Hmong national organizations, and the comments on there were just awesome, and the kids in there were so cute. And so if you get a chance to check that out, it was amazing. And kudos to Nick for his photography and videography and finding ways to spread the great things that go on here every day in La Crosse. So that's it.
Moving on to agenda planning, attached you'll see the proposed agenda for October 6th. Also, we are planning to have a workshop at the end of that meeting to talk about some facilities, big picture stuff, and the visioning, and portrait of a graduate document. Did you have a question?
I would like to, I don't know if we could have another person come in and talk about the program. I never even knew this program existed, but there was an article or an email that came out in regard to fundraiser for the La Crosse area children's homeless services. We have some people working in the district that help kids that are falling into homelessness. I think her name was Alicia Place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, if she'd be, I was intrigued by that program. I didn't know
We
we
have
did
that
that.
as a showcase or something? in the
Absolutely.
future? Okay.
Yep, I'll schedule it.
All right. So we look for a motion to, for the agenda planning for October 6th.
I'll make a motion to approve the October 6, 2025 Board of Education agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Dr. Sprague made the obligatory motion.
It's my one job.
Seconded by Ms. Fuchs, so thank you for chiming in on that. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Board debriefing, looks like it's my turn. I think we had a lively discussion here this evening. I think it's nice to hear different points of view around the table, but it's also nice to hear how we come together and focus on what's best for kids. I think even though we might not always start at the same place, we always want to do try to find the best way for grades or whatever it is for kids, and I appreciate that very much on this board. And I already had my say in my announcements. So anything else on board debriefing from anybody? Okay, well, with that, we stand adjourned.
Do you plan on sending the regional meeting?
Thank you.